Morris, go, bro. Take a nap, bro. You good right now, bro. I'm cool off you right now, Morris.
What did I do?
I'm not. I'm cool, bro. I'm so cool off you right now, Morris.
You straight on Mars? What's the problem, Big Ox?
What's wrong with me?
It's because the Rockets beat the Kings last night.
But how we lose to these bums 3 times? We're 3-0, but 3-0 this season. We cannot beat the Rockets.
0-3.
My bad. I got my bad. We cannot beat the Rockets, bro. Like, what's going on?
We're better than you.
That has a lot to do with it.
Before it was there was no De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox come back. What was he? 7 for 21. He was better off without De'Aaron Fox. Bum. We better than you. But you know what? I'm not even happy about the win. I don't know how serious Sengun's injury is.
I thought it was just hyperextension.
That's what I think it is.
They said they're getting an MRI done today.
On his knee and ankle.
Yeah, so.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm hoping it's nothing too severe because if he's out for the rest of the season, it's good.
Well, I didn't see the injury. I didn't see when it actually happened. I just jumped onto the playback like when he was on the ground. I was asking like, "Yo, who's down there?" They was mad at me because I was like, "Oh man, get your big ass up!" Like, you know what I'm saying?
Basically, what happened?
I didn't know what happened.
Sabonis traveled. They ain't call it. Sengun jumps to block the shot. Hyperextends his knee, twists his ankle. He's on the floor. Gets wheelchaired off. I don't know how severe it is. The hyperextension didn't look good, and the ankle didn't look good. But
you underhandedly trying to blame DeMontis because Sengun's clumsy.
No, I'm blaming the refs for not calling the travel and making Sengun jump for a block that shouldn't have had to happen if they called the travel when it happened. That's what
Mars. I don't know though. They was already going full speed. I think they collide no matter what, even if they called a travel.
Yeah, playing after the whistle.
Yeah, it was. They were already both in full speed motion. Sabonis was already gathering. Like I think that collision happens no matter what. Who you need to be blaming is possibly a terrorist of a point guard, Fred Van Vliet.
Fred! Oh my God, he tried to make us lose the game. Oh, Fred Van Vliet, I hate him. Oh,
Get Van Vliet off the floor.
I despise him. He got like 2 turnovers late, and he was just trying to give the ball to the Kings. I don't know what he was doing. Oh, I hate him so. Oh my God.
Mars, you can't wait for Dylan Brooks.
Oh, I hate Dylan Brooks too.
So you're not just done with the 90s, you done with the old heads in the league too.
Oh, so done. Oh, finished.
Van Fleet ain't even an old head. What do you guys? I think wasn't he a rook on that Toronto team?
I think it was in his second year, but that's because he was. That's because he was a bum who couldn't come out after his freshman year in college.
Imagine that, Big Ox. Like I gotta go to school and actually learn how to play basketball before I can go to the pros. I can't just come right out of high school because I'm not a phenom, right? Imagine that. Can you imagine?
Yeah, you're a bum.
Wow, I'm a bum because I actually got to go to college and learn how to play basketball at the pro level. By the way, not just at the college level, but at the pro level, I got to go to college and learn how to play. I just can't just come right out of high school and I'm 17 years old and I'm awesome. Nah, I'm a bum. Unbelievable.
Yes, bum.
This is what I'm dealing with. This is the kind of stuff that takes years off my life.
Swiper, what's good with you, man? How you feeling today?
Man, everything, bro. Everything. What's on all y'all? Hope y'all had a great weekend.
Yeah.
Great weekend of basketball, great weekend of hoops. Shout out to Sengun, man. He was having a special year this year. Hopefully it's not as bad as some of the early leak reports are that, he'll miss possibly to mid to late season next year. But hopefully it's nothing like that he could just, come back as soon as possible. You hate to see that for a young star. Especially somebody that has such a unique skill set as that. So obviously hope he comes back well.
Yeah, no doubt. Some prayers to Alp Sengun. But y'all, you see the title of the show. We are dispelling all myths today. We're getting down to the bottom of all illogical thoughts and everything about the current era and about the 90s. Yes, we are going to figure out who's officially done with the 90s and if you should be officially done with the 90s. We're going to do a versus.
Nobody's done with the 90s, Ron. The reason why we ain't done with the 90s because trolls like this over here, that's right over here with the hoodie on, we ain't done with it because he's still talking about it. That's why we ain't done with it, and we'll never.
I'm just reminding you guys that we are done with the 90s.
We are not done with the 90s. I would happily
never talk about the 90s again.
There's no way you cannot talk about the 90s. There's no way you could do it. No way.
Every time we do something every time they be like, oh, name the top 5 of each decade. Where does one want to start with? 90s. Why do you not want to start with the 70s and 80s? Why you don't want to
start
do
with
that?
the 80s?
Because we done with the 70s and 80s. The 90s is next. We done
But
with
actually,
them too.
actually,
That's
we're not
it.
done
We
with
done
the
with them
no,
too.
we're not,
Ron's
we're
already
not
accepted that we're done with the 70s.
We only
He never lets us
no,
rank the top 5
that's
from
not
that
true.
era.
Well,
He
the reason
accepted
why we
we're done
don't.
with the
That's
60s.
just
We
the
never do
time
that.
thing, Mars. That's because we got me on time
Yeah, guess
constraints,
what?
Mars.
The time's up in the 90s. We done with them too.
No, we're not.
We done
We're
with the
not
90s.
done. And the reason why we're not done with the 90s, because the best players that ever played in the 90s. The best players that ever
That's only
played in
because
the
the
80s.
people who watch the
best
90s
player-
are still alive. Not
best
for long, buddy.
The
Not
best
for
players
long.
the best players that ever played in the 70s. The best players that ever played
Nah.
in the 60s. Yeah. So we're not done with
Nah.
the 90s. That's
We
why they're
done.
still here. That's
We
why. And those people
We
who
done.
watch those guys, and I don't know if you know this, Mars, but I was around in the 90s. I was. And I think I'm gonna be around for a little while longer. So as long as I'm around, we're not done with the 90s.
Yeah, we pretty much done with the 90s.
Actually, we not. Nope, not as long as I'm around.
Okay.
Chat, I'm
Byron
running a
Scott.
poll right now. Are we officially done with the 90s? Chat,
Right.
y'all let us know. And maybe your opinion may change at the end of this episode. But when Damo get up here, when I got another guest is coming up here too, when they get up here, we're going to do our verses. You know how we do our player verses. We'll do 3-point shot, mid-range, finishing, athleticism, defense, yada, yada, yada. Or we'll do teams. Team defense.
I'm ashamed of you,
coaching.
Ron.
Why?
I'm ashamed of you, Ron.
Why?
For even giving this any action.
See, I'm a man of the people.
For even making this title, this thumbnail, for even allowing this nonsense to even go on. I'm ashamed.
I got John Stockton up there.
I see now. I was like, who the people support on the thumbnail?
How can you be done with something when this stuff that's going on wouldn't happen without this stuff right here? How could you be done with it? How could you be done with it?
We're done with it.
The reason, how could you be done with something when the stuff that happens now, if the stuff before that wasn't around, this stuff can't happen? Like Westinghouse can't be done with Ben Franklin. They can't be. The light company can't be, because if no Ben Franklin, no Westinghouse. Sorry, you can't be done with the 90s. You can't be done with the 80s. You can't be done with the 70s, because guess what? No Doc, no Jordan. No Jordan, no Kobe Bryant. No Kobe Bryant, no LeBron James. All of these guys are derivatives of all of these other guys. No Chamberlain, no Jabbar. No Jabbar, no Shaq. No Shaq. All of these none of these guys exist without those guys. You can't be done with something when something came from that. So there's no way you could be done with the 90s. There's no way you could be done with the 80s. There's no way you could be done with the 70s, because all of these dudes came from that.
No, we pretty much done. We're pretty much done. We've been done with George Mikan, right? I've been done.
No, we're not done with George Mikan, because no George Mikan.
I never heard us talk about George Mikan unless it's to clown the fact that he was just doing layups under the rim. Because we've been done.
Don't you feel like this is reticent of the fact that like this feels like very much of a first take topic? Like we
100%.
make fun of First Take and all these other shows for having these
100%.
ridiculous topics and conversations, and now we're going to be further enforcing this. I think this idea of being done with any era, since the fact that you can't not build off the foundation of what was laid before you. Like, are you done with your parents' generation? Are you done with the lessons they taught you? Are you done with your grandparents, your great grandparents? Mars, are you done with your ancestral history? No, there's no way to be done. You literally are. Did you know anthropologists argue that there are 7 different generations active at one point in time in your life at once over the course of your life because of your mental makeup, the way that you think, what you believe, your spiritual practices, your social practices, even your economic status is inflected by what happened to you 7 generations ago. So this whole idea that like we will be done with the 90s, given that was, I don't know, chill, exactly 25 years ago in 1999 when it ended, doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, we're not done with the 90s just simply because all those players, the 96 team, the all 50 greatest all time, from Jordan to Malone to Stockton, they all influenced all the players now. Even Nash influenced Steve Nash. Like Jordan influenced a lot of players. Anthony Edwards, we're still making comparisons to Anthony Edwards. He's 21 years old, and we're comparing him to Michael Jordan. There's a bunch of players that we're comparing. So it's
Which suggests that
for us to be done with the 90s. That's crazy.
See, that's not good enough, Mars. That is not good enough to just say that you're done with it. There's a reason why your hair is the way it is, Mars. There's a reason why your eye color is the way it is. There's a reason why you're as tall as you are. And I'm pretty sure, Mars, that your grandmother or your uncle or somebody said, you know what, you look just like such and such or thus and so. You look like your great-grandfather. We're going to be done with your great-grandfather? We're just going to get rid of your great-grandfather? Why do you think the way you do, Mars? When you talk about use your brain. Yeah, you when you always say to me, Mars, use your brain. But where do you think you get that from? You think that's something that you just made up? No, you got that from somebody in your family, and they got that from somebody in their family, and they got that from somebody in their family later on. That doesn't just go away.
You think you were the first troll in your family, Mars?
You think so, Mars?
You got generation of trolls in your family.
I think we've got to a point where you guys can't accept that we're done with the 90s NBA. Now you're trying to make us go back throughout history.
Okay, we're not done with the 90s NBA.
I'm sorry that I'm talking about the NBA. That doesn't mean the history of the universe doesn't matter. Well, I'm sorry that you guys can't make the correlation.
There's no way you could be done with an era.
I understand you guys are upset that we're forgetting about how trash the 90s NBA was, that you want to go tell me that my family's history is important. I guess.
Trash?
The NBA was trash. I don't know what to tell you.
There's no way
my
you can say
grandparents
that.
were growing up,
There's no way that you can say that. There's no way that you can say that. There's no way that you can say that it was trash, considering. And there's no proof that it was trash. None whatsoever.
The games are available. The games
right? And they are. All of those games are available. And the interesting thing is, I'm so glad YouTube is around, because I said this to you in the past. I wish I could have seen Stockton more. I wish I could have seen Malone more. I wish I could have seen Olajuwon more. Only time I was able to watch them when they was on TV against the Lakers. And that wasn't all the time. I wish I could have seen Alex English more, but I couldn't watch him. Understand, Mars, anybody knows me knows I'm a James guy. James is my favorite. James, I think he's the GOAT. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to let you guys sit around and talk about these other guys like they're less than, like they just can't compete. No, they are not less than, and that they can't compete. That's just not true.
They can't.
Because again, one of the things that I'm watching how great James is, and again, James is the same guy who showed up in 2003, right after the 90s. James's game is a derivative of the 90s, being physical, getting downhill, and then he changed his game because the game changed. There's no reason. No, it got spread out. So sure, the game got spread out. In the process of the game getting spread out, James changed his game. And a lot of these guys changed their game. Why? Because this is the way the game was going. That doesn't mean that the guys who before them, like in the 90s, couldn't do that. So a guy like LeBron James, as awesome as he is, right? A guy like LeBron James, as awesome as he is, I can recognize, I think he's the GOAT. But I can also recognize when I watch this era and say to myself, yo, Dale Ellis would have lit this era up. The catch and shoot guy that he was, Dale Ellis would have lit this era up. There's no reason for me to think that Chris Mullin wouldn't have lit this era up. The long ball shooter that he is, and the space and the skill set that he had. There's no reason for me to think that he couldn't play and be successful in this era. None whatsoever.
Give me
and you can't give me the
Give me Luke Kennard. Give me Luke Kennard.
Over Chris Mullin?
Over him and Dale Ellis.
He can't get legit logic on that. He can't.
Nah, he's trolling. He's trolling. You're trolling if you got him over Chris Mullin.
Put Luke Kennard in the 90s. I promise you, he's starting and averaging 23 a game. But I mean, I guess.
What are you basing that on, Miles? Because he can shoot the long ball.
Because he's better than anyone who's playing.
Okay, because I said so isn't an answer, Miles. That's not good enough. Why?
Because he shoot better than anyone who played in the 90s.
He does not shoot better than Dale Ellis. That's not true.
Yes, he does. He clears.
No, he doesn't. He does not.
Okay.
All right.
Fellas, this is what I gotta ask you guys. If you can, well, Mars, I know you didn't technically live through the 90s, but if you can go back right now and choose for the next 10 years, you get zapped. You don't know what's gonna, well, I mean, now you know what's gonna happen, but living through it, you wouldn't know what's gonna happen. You just get dropped at the beginning of the 90s, or you get dropped 10 years ago in 2014. Which 10 years would you rather live through? And experience everything in real life time, reactions to not knowing what's going on, and just seeing everything.
The NBA or the world?
The NBA.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking to me?
This
is for all three of you guys.
95 to 2005.
No, just 90s.
He don't even want to go through the whole 90s. See?
Well, I'm trying to get a little bit more T-Mac and KG. That's why. So
when the semi-good heap started, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if I can only choose one, then man, I got to see Jordan and Pippen though. So I can't pick. 2000 is probably my favorite. 2000s is probably my favorite because it's I'll go with the 2000s. I'll sacrifice Jordan for Maxos.
He don't want to
Ox.
do the 90s.
Big Ox. It's
told
two
you, look,
options. It's the
I told you,
90s.
he wants mystery
or the
up to
last
number
10
3,
years.
not the 90s.
Oh, my bad. I was talking to my kids, bro.
If you dropping me,
if it's the 90s or the last 10 years, then it's the 90s for sure.
yes.
Yeah, that was his
dropping
fourth
me.
choice, by the way. That was his
Drop-
first. He
drop
wanted
me.
mid 90s to mid 2000s. Then he wanted 2000s. Now he's gonna take the 90s.
I wanted Mars. You can't say like that's just my fourth option because I had half the 90s because I needed some 90s, but I need T-Mac.
Yeah,
So
but for real, you really
I can't choose
about the 90s. I can see.
No,
Drop me in 90. I'm good. Drop me in 1990.
Give me the 90s.
I'm good.
over this
You can
past
drop
year.
me in 1990. I'm straight.
I like
with that.
I like real basketball, Ron. I like real hoops. So
But,
give me the 90s.
Oxen and Chill though, you guys got to admit it's been a very entertaining and a hell of an era this last 10 years.
Yes, it
No,
has.
really, I don't have to admit that.
Mhm.
Why not?
I don't like that shit, bro. You've been Ron. You've been with me so many times when we're watching the game, and I get up and leave. I'm not watching this shit. I've left. I've walked out. I've walked out of NBA arenas. I'll buy a ticket and leave. I'm not watching bad basketball. I'm not watching dudes running around just throwing shit up. Like I can't watch. I can't watch you not play defense. I can't watch you pass up open layups and mid-range jump shots, kick it out for contested threes. That's terrible basketball. I can't watch it.
So Ox, you don't think it would have been no time in the 90s where you would have been like, man, I'm turning this shit off or I'm leaving this game?
Without a doubt, I can say that no matter what area you're in, there's going to be a game that you might watch, like, man, this shit weak. But I've done that so many times in the past 6-7 years. Like, bro, I can't do it.
The thing why you dropping me in the 90s, Ron, is because the improvement of these guys over the course of time. So Scottie Pippen in 1994 is not the same Scottie Pippen in 1990. Michael Jordan is not the same Michael Jordan in 1996 that he was in 1990. Charles Barkley, David Robinson, Chris Mullin, Latrell Sprewell, John Starks, all of these guys, we watch the maturation of these guys and we watch these guys improve. How much am I watching guys improve in this era as opposed to the long ball? The majority of the stuff that I'm watching these guys improve in is the long ball. That's it. I'm not watching these guys become better playmakers. I'm watching these guys shoot the long ball primarily. How they come off screens to shoot the long ball. How do they read screens so they could get open to shoot the long ball? I'm not seeing these guys improve defensively. I'm not seeing these guys improve on the backboard. I'm not seeing these guys basketball IQ. I'm seeing these guys improve to shoot the long ball. That's one aspect of the game. I didn't see that when the 90s was coming on. During the 90s, I saw a lot of these guys improve their overall games because that's what it was about. It was about being a complete basketball player. I feel like I'm in an era with a lot of specialists. I feel like I'm in an era with a lot of guys who play primarily on one side of the ball and improving this one thing, as opposed to guys improving as players.
Mars, can you let us know why you're choosing the 90s too?
No. I'm not picking the 90s. I wouldn't even consider picking the 90s.
It's not an option?
No. Why would anyone want to go back and watch an expansion era of the NBA? Why would I want to go watch that? Why would I want to go watch 4 new teams get added? Just terrible basketball teams. Very top heavy. Teams are much worse than they were in the 80s. That's not my word. That's Dennis Rodman's words. That's Jerry Sloan's words. So if you're mad at my statement, be mad at them. They're the ones who said that in the 90s. Just a bad, weak brand of basketball. If anything, it's worse than the 80s. So no, I'm not taking the 90s.
Based on what, Mars? What makes it a weak brand of basketball? Why is it weak?
Well, expansion. That's one reason.
So you got new teams in the league, okay?
Yeah, so that means the overall product gets diluted because you got to get players on those teams.
Right.
Then you got just overall. They had to shorten the 3-point line because people couldn't shoot.
That was a year and a half. So
3 seasons. It was a year and a half when MJ was there. See, the 90s is irrelevant when MJ's not there. So you just ignore the other year and a half when MJ wasn't there, and the 3-point line was even shorter. So you just ignore that because no one cares when MJ's not there.
So 23-9, 20 was it 22 and a half? Yeah, 22 and a half and 23-9. So a foot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so they shortened the 3-point line because people couldn't shoot.
Right.
Bad basketball. Then all this alleged defense they were playing, fraudulent. Got role players spotting up inside the mid range, fraudulent. Got guys.
What's wrong with the mid range jump shot? And it's a bad shot.
That's spotting up mid range. Common sense would tell you instead of taking a 20-foot jumper, you should probably take the 22-foot jumper. That's worth more points.
Common sense. Basketball sense would not tell you that. Basketball.
Yeah, and that's because you don't have the common sense to understand that.
I don't have the common sense to understand basketball. I mean, you have
clearly because common sense would tell you instead of spotting up for a 20-foot jumper, we should spot up for a 22-foot jumper. That's just common sense. That
doesn't 2 more feet.
Common sense.
No, it's not, Mars.
That's just
2 more feet.
That's what you would think.
Common sense.
If you're not playing the game, if you're not playing the game, if you're looking,
I would think common sense. I would think
that's not common sense.
Would not tell you that.
It should be common sense, but clearly we got people like you who just will ignore the common sense. So yeah, it's not.
Keep going.
Common sense isn't so common. I can get with that. Common sense isn't so common. But yeah, so the league being filtered down, as said by players who were playing in that era, said by coaches who were playing in that era. Bad basketball, short and 3-point line, illegal defense is terrible because they couldn't actually play basketball without just being able to go one.
Mars, right quick. I've been trying to get you some reinforcements because it's 3-on-1 right now, and so I was looking all over the PC first
5-on-1,
get you somebody.
I mean, if you're gonna be defending a bad brand of basketball, I'm comfortable. I could go 100 against one. If you guys are all gonna say that it's not common sense to spot from 22.
Well, Mars, that's just not fair. You know, like play 5-on-5. You play.
It's really
7-on-7, 12-on-12.
not fair. It's really not fair, Ryan. You're talking.
But I want you to keep going, though, Mars.
I'm saying, Mars, I went and got low for you. Lower Dub.
We gotta listen to this type of shit like
Dub.
Dub
is not reinforcements.
I got
Dub is not reinforcements. Do not bring Dub to me as my help, please.
Mars, as you were saying,
done with the 90s.
Mars, as you were saying, is a bad brand of basketball. The 3-point line got moved in. Common sense. Keep going, Mars.
Yeah, so lack of common sense from coaching and players. Bad brand of basketball from coaching and players. 3-point line being moved in. Watered down product due to expansion. Some of the worst teams we've probably ever seen occurred in that 90s period due to the expansion. So what else do I need to say about the 90s? What else is there for me to say? Bunch of people who couldn't shoot the basketball, just simple skill work that they just lacked. Apparently all these congested lanes making life so difficult. Turns out people were just running through the lane anyway. Who would have thought? Crazy. All this tough physical defense. Turns out drawing fouls for the most minor amounts of contact, you were getting foul calls. But I mean, hey, I guess when you don't watch it, you can trick people into thinking there was real defense. But then when you watch it and you see the foul calls that were occurring, yeah, we got lied to.
So foul calls equals no defense?
No. Well, fouling is the definite. That would mean playing defense illegally. That's what that would mean. But when people tell me, oh, it was so much more physical, you could do so much more without getting called for a foul. Untrue, just a lie. Just watching it, just seeing the most minor amounts of contact being called for a foul, especially off the ball. Off the ball, you could do less back then than you could do now in terms of physicality. The amount of fouls I've seen people coming off screens and they just get brushed foul. But today's game, you can grab Steph Curry, you can push him around, no foul off the ball. But I mean, hey, but back then it was more physical, right? Yeah, totally. Not to mention the quality on the TV screen was just bad. Like now we got 4K quality. What, I gotta watch 720p? Nah, I'm good. Bad quality TV too. Just trash. Then the games aren't. You don't even have league pass, so you can't even watch some teams if you want to watch them. You have to be in that area. So if I wanted to go watch the Detroit Pistons, I'd have to go move to Detroit. I'm good. So no, they don't have the TV rights. They have a shortened 3-point line. There's an expansion era. The coaching don't know what they're doing. There's a legal defense. There's nothing good about it. It's trash. So yeah, give me the last 10 years. And for real, I'm done with the early 2010s too. So it's a good thing you started with 2014, right? I'm done with the early 2010s.
That's crazy.
So it's a good thing you started with 2014 because that's about the time where I'm starting to get.
I don't even know if I'm on Mars' team. I don't even know if I'm Mars' team.
Yeah, of course.
Look,
Yeah,
right?
Jalen's not going to be on because Jalen's using this to be done with the 90s thing to push LeBron agenda.
Hold on.
I don't care about LeBron agenda. I don't care about good basketball.
Crazy.
All these people are turning we done with the 90s into LeBron versus MJ. You guys are just weird.
I ain't even doing that.
No, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing
that.
We're not doing that.
That's why I said the whole 90s thing. Look, do I think these people on TikTok we done with the 80s, 90s, they're dragging it? Yes. Mike, we did this. All right. We went on playback. Michael Jordan hasn't left. Can we just stop that? He has a left. He finished with a left strong. That's fine. All right, Michael Jordan is great. We're not taking away the greatness. I think all the top players of the 90s, Hakeem Olajuwon, Jordan, the Shaq, Patrick Ewing, Scottie Pippen, Gary Payton, all these players. No, he's great. So all these players are phenomenal Hall of Fame level players who would do amazing in this league too. None of those guys are having huge regressions. Sure, some of the players' lack of shooting would hurt them, but they do other things that make up for it. I don't think these players are struggling in today's league. That's not going to happen. The thing with the 90s that we're done with is this whole like mythological thing of that defense being the super physical. Every time you come in the lane, you get punched or elbowed in the face. Yes, are there situations where that happened with the bad boy Pistons on Jordan at certain times? Sure. We're not going to act like every play you're getting hit that hard. You know what I mean? There's open lanes just like in today's game, just like in any part of NBA. There's open lanes. You can get to the rim easy. The defense, one-on-one defense, a lot of the one-on-one defense I think was poor. A lot of players was getting by guys. I do think when it comes to the role players of the 90s, they lacked a lot of the overall skills that role players today have. So I just think role players today can do more with the basketball, which makes sense because as basketball progresses, players get better and more is asked of them. So I think the handle, one for most players today is significantly better than the 90s. Field handle, which again, makes sense. It's supposed to be better. The shooting ability, I get. Do I think kind of the way offense work, I think is actually better today. It's more complexity today offensively. Defensively, I think today you have to move your feet more. You have to be more athletic to be successful. So that's true. So in terms of the 90s, again, we need to stop glorifying this like kind of mythological time where, it was so hard to score baskets. These players were so amazing. No, they had their weaknesses, right? They had their drawbacks. Again, the players are still great, especially star players, still great. But I think the role players today are significantly better than the role players of the 90s.
And when you talk about the guys being significantly better, it's because of the offense. So when you think about role players, I think about guys doing their jobs in order for them to win. But I want to rewind the clock, right? Because I'm thinking about guys like Horace Grant. I'm thinking about guys like Dennis Rodman, Otis Thorpe. I'm thinking about how important those guys were in order for the team to win. But I want to rewind the clock to what Mars talked about when he talked about the defense and the physicality. Well, the defense and the physicality got cleaned up in the 90s because of what was going on in the 80s, because of things like fighting, because they were allowed to be more physical. So when we got to the 90s, things were still physical, but they weren't as physical, simply off the strength of that the TV rights. People wanted to see more scoring, and they wanted to see guys playing more. They don't want to see guys getting slammed. And the league was being built around Jordan, so they cleaned that stuff up a little bit more. Now, when you're talking about teams, when you're talking about bad basketball and teams, Miles, what if I told you that from 1988-89 to 1998-99, we only had one team that didn't win the NBA championship in back-to-back seasons. We had a 10-year stretch where we had a back-to-back champion every year. That tells me that we had a bunch of great teams. We had a bunch of great teams in the 90s. Add that to the fact that we had a bunch of great players in the 90s also. So when you're talking about this brand of basketball, when you're talking about guys like Otis Thorpe, when you're talking about role players like Horace Grant, when you're talking about role players like Dennis Rodman, you're talking about role players like Byron Russell, guys like that who were instrumental in their teams going deep into the playoffs and winning games. That's huge for that brand of basketball. Now, when you're talking about a league being watered down, well, I can combat that with teams that the NBA had a back-to-back champion, which solidified how great these teams were in the 90s, as opposed to we didn't have one team during that time that was 8-59. Like the Charlotte Hornets were. There was not one team in the league that was that bad. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. There wasn't one team in the league that was that bad. There wasn't one team that was as bad as the Philadelphia 76ers during that time. There wasn't one team that was that bad. And there were some teams that were bad in the early 90s, but none of them were that bad. And these teams that were back-to-back champions, they were powered by one, big man. And they were powered by big men. Number two, they were great players. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to just discount what was going on today, but I can't discount what was going on in the 90s.
Well, the back-to-back champion thing, I know you started with 88, 89, so you could get the Pistons in there too. That would just show that the league was top-heavy. There was 3 champions in a 10-year stretch. The Pistons, the Bulls, the Rockets. They're the only teams that won a championship for 10 years. Mm-hmm. That just shows the league was top-heavy because everyone else trash. But I want to go back to somehow.
Who they beat though, Mars? Think about that for a second. Who
They
did they
beat
beat?
the other team on the other side of the conference. So the Pistons beat the Blazers and
The Lakers.
The Blazers and the Lakers. The Lakers with Kareem on his last legs and Magic got hurt in the series. Shout out to him.
Okay.
Good
Right.
for you, Pistons. Then they beat the Blazers. Trash.
And-
then the Bulls beat the Lakers. Post Kareem, James Worthy gets hurt in the series. I think Byron Scott's hurt too.
Yeah, he got hurt too.
Trash. Then they beat the Blazers. Trash. Then they beat the Suns, one of the worst defenses I've ever seen in finals history. Trash. Then MJ retires. Then the Rockets go to the finals. They beat the Knicks. Patrick Ewing. Trash. John Starks. What was he? One for 18 game 7.
Yeah, he was
trash.
bad in that game.
Yeah, trash.
We've seen
That 95, the Orlando Magic get swept. Expansion team that got Shaq. 3 years later, they're in the finals because that's how bad the era was.
Right.
You can just
Great team,
trash.
though. Great team.
Yeah, sure, great team. Trash. 96, the Bulls come back 72-10. Yeah, good for them. That's the time where Dennis Rodman said the league was trash. So that's his words, not mine. That's what he said. He said the league.
Who they beat, Mars?
They beat the Seattle Supersonics. I know Ron's gonna get offended. Trash. 97.
Focus, Ron. Get this dude back up here. 97. Keep going.
97. They then go beat the Utah Jazz. Who Jerry Sloan was saying the league was trash at the time. He's the coach of the Utah Jazz. If anyone didn't know, he was saying the league was bad. So 97, 98, they beat that team who was being coached by a guy who said the league was bad at that time.
Right.
So trash. So even if you don't agree with me, the league was trash. The people who were having success in the trash league were saying the league was trash. So get mad at them, not me. But I want to go back to how it's not common sense to say spotting up for a 20-foot mid-range jump shot is stupid. How is that not common sense? It's common sense if you're spotting up from 20 feet to spot it from 22 feet. How is that not common sense? Explain to me how that's not common sense.
The reason why it's not common sense, Mars, is because the long ball was not as prevalent. Okay.
You know why? Because they weren't that smart yet. They
It's
didn't
not
figure
that-
out
it's
that there was
not
an extra
that they
point.
weren't that- It's not that they weren't that smart, Mars. The problem was the game was a big man game, and the guy that's playing in the mid range is opening up the floor more for the big man.
3. They could open it up from 3.
Yeah, they could open it up from 3,
couldn't
and you actually had guys who could shoot the long ball, but the power forward, Horace Grant, the power forward, Otis Thorpe, could knock down the mid range, and the big man could knock down the mid range, which would open up the lane a little bit more for the big man to operate, as opposed to today. And they could shoot threes because Kenny Smith could shoot threes. Dale Ellis could shoot threes. Chris Mullin could shoot threes. Mitch Richmond could shoot threes. Dennis Scott could shoot threes. And all of these guys could shoot the long ball. That's not the problem. That is not the problem. But the big man and the power forward and the small forward played in the mid range. Why? Because the game was primarily ran through the big man.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that someone's posting up and you spotting up in the short corner instead of just taking one step back and getting a 3. My fault for thinking, hey, extra point here, take a step back. Nah, I just want to spot from one step inside. That's just dumb.
I'd like to think that two more feet. You say it's just an extra step. When you haven't, 2 more feet is a lot further than you think, Mars. Okay. It's a lot further than you think.
It doesn't take a genius to figure out, hey, I shoot 40% from 20 feet. If I go and shoot 30% from 22 feet, guess what? We get more points. Like, it doesn't take a genius
I'm going to miss more. Not only am I going to miss more, what I'm going to do is
to figure that out.
If I'm going to miss more, because you just said I shoot 40% from 2, but I shoot 30% from 3, more times than not, I'm going to miss the 3. Teams are going to get long rebounds. Not only the team's going to get long rebounds, those are wasted possessions. And then now I'm giving the other team an opportunity to score. So, no, it's not common sense. Not at that time.
No, I'm sorry. Hey, 9 points on 10 shots or 8 points on 10 shots.
It's not just that cut and dry, Mars.
Yeah,
it's really not. And then also, too,
I don't mind trolling or not.
Also,
it's literally common sense.
What that 3-point line has done is it's brought everybody away from the hoop. It's turned into a sniper contest.
Ooh,
and what that has done, it's now taking people away from the easiest shot in basketball. A layup, a dunk.
There's more layups now than before.
Posting up. Essentially posting up, that's what the game has turned into. Now everybody's spotted up around the 3-point line, 5 out, 4 out, everybody out, 10 out, fuck it, 10 out. And nobody's posting up, which is essentially the best type of possession, if you ask me, that you can get in basketball. A guy like Joel Embiid, a guy like Nikola Jokic, a guy like whatever dominant big man that you want to say in the league. And they don't even have to be dominant. I could say Valanciunas, for instance. Him posting up on the block is way more efficient than a guy running around throwing up a bunch of threes.
You fight that, Mars?
Yeah, there's no way we're not done with the night. If I'm hearing that post ups are more efficient than open threes, which
They are. But Mars, this is what you got to understand.
We're just lying.
A post up. Hold on. Wait a second. A post up isn't necessarily you catching the ball and just shooting a fadeaway jumper, or you just throwing up a hook. No, because people come in double and the ball swings out of a post up. Now you definitely get
a three, right?
Could be a three. It could be somebody catching and ripping through, getting a layup. It could be somebody taking a one dribble pull up. It could be somebody catching the ball, swinging it, and it going back into the post. But it's actually you playing basketball.
Because we get to the rim more now than ever because there's more spacing. We drive now more. We get more layups now.
No, that's because it's less defense, Mars.
Yeah, guess what? The more space there is, the harder it is to guard. Who would have thought? You have to cover more grounds. Defense is harder. Oh my God.
Okay.
Common sense. Once again, I guess I'm going to have to keep explaining common sense. You have more space to cover, which means there's more gaps in the defense, which means there's more space for you to drive.
Right.
Crazy. So yeah, more space, more drive.
Or it's easier to play offense because defenders can't be physical. Maybe that's just the case. Maybe that's why guys can just walk to the rim. Maybe that's why, Luka can just, I'm just taking my time and just stroll into the rim. Oh, layup. You guys can't touch me. I'm bigger. I'm more physical. And you can't touch me. Layup.
Well,
Maybe that's why
Jordan do that
Russell Westbrook can just get to the rim at will.
Like people don't just get touched on the perimeter.
This is the thing. You could
go on playback.
People get touched on the perimeter.
I don't know if the panel's on playback this week. If we are, you can go watch.
It can be scheduled. We can go to playback right now.
So why are people swiping arms off them when they're driving to the rim? Ron? Why are people swiping?
You said why are
that
people
good forearm
swiping
swipe that you spoke about when you was watching that Boston game and JT did that move? He spun baseline. You said that's a good move right there. That forearm swipe. You know why they have to swipe someone's arm? Because the top person's arm is on them. Which means they are being touched. Which means that you can't say no one gets touched when you're talking about moves to evade someone touching you on the perimeter. That forearm swipe that you're talking about
it wasn't a forearm swipe. He hooked him. That's different. That's not a forearm swipe. Mars, I'm not saying defenders aren't there.
Many situations in which people are using that forearm swipe.
I'm not saying defenders aren't there. But
you know, no one's touching anyone. That's what you said.
But you know, the offense initiated the contact. Jason Tatum was on offense. He initiated the contact.
The swipe is not you initiating contact. That means the contact has been initiated and you're swiping them.
No, Mars. If you're hooking somebody, you're initiating the contact.
I'm talking about swipes. I'm not talking about hooks. I'm talking about swipes.
When you're driving, when I get to the basket,
use your off arm
and I
to
do
swipe the defender's hands away.
Right?
You are not initiating contact because their contact was already on you, and you swipe their contact away, which means they were touching you, and you swiped it off. Which means that people can touch you on the perimeter, which is why that is a move that offensive players do to evade the contact.
Okay,
you can't say no one's getting touched when moves like off-arm swipe exist. That's
just
not true.
Mars,
you can't say
you just lying because on that play there was no swipe
claim. You can't say there's less layups now than before when nothing supports that claim. People are driving more than ever. People are getting layups more than ever. And you can't say those things when they're flagrantly untrue, just so you can defend the era of the 90s.
No,
it's a lie. We are going to the rim less now. We are just taking way more threes and getting less things at the rim. That's just not true. Just back in the 90s, instead of getting shots at the rim, they would take 15-foot jumpers. Now in today's game, instead of taking 15-foot jumpers, they go to the rim. We take more layups.
But do you know why they had to shoot more jumpers? You do know why they had to shoot more jumpers. You do know why, because the help defense was more prevalent, the lane was more clogged, things like that. And yet it was still more defense.
So what does that
because
say?
They were closer to the rim.
Exactly my point. You can't get to the rim because they're playing defense. You can't get to the rim because they're playing defense.
That's bad offense. There's less spacing, which means the big man can rotate over. Instead of having to cover someone in the corner, someone can be 18 feet from the rim. Guess what? That means there's only one step to rotate to the paint. But in today's game, when there's someone in the corner, that rotation is an extra 2 steps, which makes the rotations harder. Because guess what? More spacing makes defense harder. That's why they put in illegal defense, so that they could try to give the offensive players more space. But in today's game, we don't need illegal defense. Guess why? Because people can shoot. That's the point.
Wait. We don't need it.
Do the same thing.
That doesn't make
illegal defense and spacing do the same thing. They provide space to offensive players. That's the whole point of why illegal defense was implemented, because they wanted offensive players to have space, but they had to implement something to give these offensive players space because they understood the guys couldn't shoot the basketball to provide spacing naturally. That's what happened. They couldn't provide spacing naturally, so they had to put in rules to allow people to space the floor. That's how you could get Greg Ostertag behind the three-point line, and he's providing spacing. Because you know in today's game, you have a non-shooter in the corner, they don't provide spacing. That's why. That's why they had to implement illegal defense.
That's fair, Mars. So if that's true, then why is illegal defense? Why is illegal 3 seconds? Why is that still in the game? If spacing is just so great and we have so much spacing in the game, why is that still in the game? I'll tell you why it's still in the game. Because guys on the block can't get doubled as quickly as they used to be able to get doubled. Guys can't dig the way they used to be able to do that, right? Because there's so much spacing, guys shouldn't be able to get to guys like they did. Well, you can't sit in the paint. The reason why you can't sit in the paint anymore is because guys shoot the long ball like they do. So why is illegal defense still here? Why do we still have
defense in 3 seconds?
Why would he have exactly illegal defense? Why is that? Why is that still here, Mars? The reason why it's still here, because this spacing that you talk about isn't as great as you say it is. Why? Because everybody doesn't shoot the long ball like that. That's why. Everybody doesn't shoot the long ball like that. There are plenty of guys who shoot the long ball, no question, but everybody doesn't shoot the long ball like that. And guys back then also shot the long ball. They shot the long ball at a pretty good clip. Kenny Smith could shoot the long ball. Dale Ellis could shoot the long ball. Dennis Scott could shoot the long ball. Chris Mullin could shoot the long ball.
Yeah, there was like
Mitch
maybe
Richmond
2 guys per team who could shoot. Yeah.
And not everybody. And let me
now there's a roster of 12 guys.
That's like 6, 7 guys. Yeah,
9 of them can shoot. 8 of them can shoot. Guys on the team who can strictly just shoot probably won't get many minutes because they can't play defense. Whereas back in the day, you could get away with more specialists on the court. Get guys who can do nothing on offense except play defense. So those guys could play. In today's game, you can't really just get specialists on the court. You have to be able to provide something on offense. And if you can't, you probably don't play in the playoffs. That's what we have today. But yeah, naming a couple guys per team who could shoot, I guess, yeah. So a league of what, 27 teams, right? 27 teams at the start of the 90s?
Yeah.
So 27 teams, 2 guys who could shoot per team, 54 shooters.
And
Nice.
since you brought that up, Miles, when you talk about specialists, so wouldn't these long ball guys, wouldn't they be specialists too? Because a lot of them don't do much else except shoot the long ball.
They can do other things.
No, they do other things.
And the ones who can't, they don't play much.
Like you mean
Not
like
really.
hold on, Ron.
The ones who don't play that much.
Who's a specialist? Yeah, who's a specialist that gets minutes who can just shoot the
Like
ball,
high level,
just
so
one way?
people who can only shoot threes.
Yeah.
Who play substantial minutes.
There's nobody. You have to be
in the game today.
In today's game. Who gets
Wait.
Who gets minutes today?
No, I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying there's not as many as you
That's
might
what I'm
think.
talking about. I mean, Luke Kennard was the best long ball shooter in the
Yeah,
game.
he doesn't play that many
Yeah, and
minutes.
Luke Kennard's not in a championship team or not in a winning team.
He doesn't play that many minutes for that reason because he
If
can't
I'm
play
not
defense and he can't do much else but shoot.
If I'm not mistaken, was he not in their rotation with the Memphis Grizzlies?
He's in the rotation. He just doesn't play that
the
many
Memphis
minutes. And in the
Grizzlies,
playoffs,
though.
his minutes
He
go
played-
down for a reason.
Yeah, he's
Unless people get
unplayable in
hurt,
the
then
playoffs,
it's fine.
essentially. He's always unplayable in the playoffs.
Yes.
He's not unplayable like Reggie
Borderline.
Jackson.
On a winning team,
Like-
yes.
like-
He's
like
borderline
Reggie
unplayable. He's
So if-
borderline
so-
unplayable.
so-
And
so
he
if
plays
these guys-
more when people are injured. So like they have to kind of dig into that rotation.
So if that's true, then Mars, then why are these guys that you're talking about? Because this sounds to me like basically just like numbers or something like that. So why are these guys in the 90s? Why were they playable and these guys today aren't playable? Are
Because
you telling
illegal
me
defense
just
meant
because?
you had to be guarded even if you
Stop
weren't
saying
a player.
illegal defense, Mars. We have illegal. We have defense. We have illegal
Yeah,
defense.
the
today.
defensive 3
That's going
seconds is so
on.
that zones aren't overpowered. And they removed that in 03 because you know what? They removed it in 03 for the very reason that when they removed the legal defense, they understood, hey, if we allow this big man to camp in the lane the whole game, no one will ever score because in the 2000s, once again, people couldn't shoot. And because there was no illegal defense to space the floor artificially, you would end up having a big man down in the lane who would just destroy a team's offenses. So they had to implement defensive 3 seconds so that offenses could have something to do. Now, do I think they probably should have brought it back once people figured out how to shoot? Yes. I think they're probably going to end up bringing it back because now offense is skilled enough to where they shoot well enough to where you can have a defender who wants to stay in the lane if they want to. I think they're probably going to bring it back. But the reason they implemented defensive 3 seconds is because when they removed illegal defense, they understood offenses would never score if they kept defense, if they didn't implement defensive 3 second rule. They knew they wouldn't be able to do that. You know why? Because the offensive players weren't very skilled at the time they changed the rules. In the 2003, I think that's the year they changed it. 2003, the year they changed the rules, teams still couldn't shoot. So you had to change something, otherwise offenses wouldn't score when they removed the legal defense. That's
Mars,
how
it's not a product of offense not being skilled. That is the worst myth that you guys have put out there ever. It's like hey, as a matter of fact, players back then were more skilled than players are today.
Now we
Now,
like,
look,
well,
look,
see,
And you see why people are done with the 90s because people say stuff like that. That's why people are done with the 90s.
Relax, and let me explain myself. By skills, it's certain skills. Like if you guys are equating skills as putting the ball behind your back and doing a slip and slide and going through your legs and all of that, up and under layup, that's not the skills I'm talking about. I'm talking about skills in terms of being strong with the ball, making sound decisions, being able to get to your one dribble pull up. Dudes back then could still shoot. Just because you don't shoot doesn't mean you can't shoot.
They can't shoot as well. They can't shoot as well. And that's clear.
No, they just didn't.
No, they just didn't shoot as much. No, they just didn't shoot.
I know.
That's where you
I know that dudes couldn't shoot the long ball. I know that dudes couldn't shoot the long ball back then like they do today. Okay,
no,
sure.
they could. They just didn't want to. They could.
I'm very. They don't shoot it as much. The volume isn't as much. But guys could shoot the long ball back then. And guys shot the long ball. They just didn't shoot it at the clip. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Phoenix Suns led the league. I think they led the league. They shot the most threes those 3 years when Steve Nash was winning the league MVP in 2004, 2005, 05, 06, 06, 07. Even though he should have won the league. The word is he should have won the league MVP that year. I think they led the league in threes. And it was, as a team, they were shooting 25 threes a game. 25 threes a game. And then there were teams that were behind them shooting 20, shooting 18, because that wasn't the game. That's not to say that you couldn't shoot the long ball. It's just that wasn't the game. The game today, because of guys like because of guys. Okay, so let's talk about the 90s. So
that's just like saying when the dunk was taken out. That's just like saying, oh, guys couldn't dunk. Oh, we didn't see.
But the 3-point line wasn't taken out. In fact, it was moved forward, and they still couldn't shoot.
Mars.
They did everything to help them shoot better, and they still didn't do it.
Mars.
It's not the same as removing the dunk.
And we did the
it's
same.
like them lowering the rim and people still couldn't dunk. That's what it would be like.
Mars,
they moved the 3-point line forward and people still couldn't shoot. You can't say that's the same as them removing the dunk. So now we're saying you can't dunk.
Okay, so take
the equivalent of us lowering the rim and people still don't dunk.
Mars,
that's
what it's the equivalent of.
Hold on, Ron.
If we're going to equate it to something, we have to equate it to what it would be similar to.
Okay, so what, Ron?
Well, we removed the dunk in college, so Kareem wasn't dunking in college. Does that mean Kareem couldn't dunk? No, that's not the same thing because they never removed the 3-point line. They moved it closer and they still couldn't shoot.
Okay, so
that's
Mars,
what it's equivalent to.
So
they
Mars,
couldn't shoot or they weren't shooting.
This is
Did
nonsense,
the
Ron.
three percentages drop over those years?
Ron, all he's doing is attack. All he's doing is attacking. Ron, all he's doing is attacking your point about not being able to shoot. So then explain, Ron. So then explain, Mars. If that's the case, explain why they moved it back then. So if it's that hard, we're going to move it in. We're going to move it in for you to be able to shoot better. And then because you can't shoot better, what I'm going to do is, instead of eliminating it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it back to where it originally was. That's what I'm going to do.
They realized changing it didn't help. So now they just made it designated for, once again, the specialists who could shoot before and who were shooting during, because now you've got guys like Steve Kerr shooting 50% from 3. That's not who he is, by the way.
So now you admit. So now you admit the guys
instead of just they were trying to make non-shooters
shoot.
shoot threes. It didn't work. So guess what? They moved it back to where it was, so that the people who were shooting before could go back to shooting, and the people who couldn't shoot when it was moved forward would just go back to doing what they were doing because it didn't benefit them. It didn't benefit the people who couldn't shoot before because they still weren't shooting. So why not just make it so the people who have the skill to shoot get the value of shooting from further and now technically space? Didn't work. But now we've got guys who can shoot from the longer 3-point line. So guess what? We're talking about discussing a 4-point line because people can shoot now. Now, do I think a 4-point line is probably a good thing? Meh, I don't know. But that's the reason we're discussing that because people can shoot now.
So that's chill. The thing about
non-shooters still couldn't shoot. They moved it back to the shooters could benefit.
Hold up, Mars. We haven't heard from Ox in a while. Hold up, Till. We haven't heard from Ox in a while. Ox, I'm gonna let you chime in. After that, I got a $25 super chat that I gotta read. Go ahead, Ox.
We can get to the $25 super chat.
No. I want to hear what you got.
Go ahead, Ox. You've been stressing a little bit.
Well, the simple thing about it is it doesn't matter if the 3-point line is 22-9 or 20-26 or whatever, right?
23-9.
Either way, right? I'm not gonna just because it's a little closer, it's not gonna make me shoot it more if that's not the style of play I'm playing. If I'm playing to if I'm playing to the rim,
that's why I just
if I'm not hold up real quick, y'all. if I'm not spamming the 3-point line, like if I'm not playing accidental basketball, which is what Kobe Bryant called it, if I'm not just trying to just dribble and just find and just seeking out the first open three, which isn't the style of play that was played in those days, it might be the style of play now. It's just two different styles of basketball, right? So we're not going to get the same thing from two different styles of basketball. So these guys aren't spamming the 3-pointer. No matter if I'm a great 3-point shooter, we didn't consider that in those times to be great basketball. It was more so, let's feed the big. Yeah, you can shoot, but it's still in those times, analytics wasn't as prevalent then. It wasn't one of those things where, oh yeah, you can, but the 3-pointer is a better shot. We just didn't look at it that way. It was more of a, okay, feed the big man, cut to the rim, knock down that mid-range jumper if it's open, shoot the open jump shot if it's there. It wasn't spam the 3-point line. So moving the line up or back really didn't matter at all. Nowadays, it's a different style of basketball. So now we're looking for guys. I need you to be able to shoot. I need you to be able to shoot, because now the style of play we're playing is penetrate, kick. We're passing up. I don't care if you can, if you're a high flyer, if you can dunk. I don't care about your layup package. Can you shoot the basketball? Because now analytics are a little more prevalent. It's a little more prevalent. Now we're seeking that 3-point shot. Whereas back in those days, that just was not the style of play. So yeah, Mars, there were shooters that just didn't shoot. For instance, Larry Bird getting passed by Draymond Green in the three for more threes. Or does that mean that Draymond Green's a better shooter than Larry Bird? I don't think anybody with half a brain would insinuate that. So that one situation in Draymond Green passing Larry Bird in the most three-pointers or more three-pointers, you know what I'm saying, is a clear indication of all shooters weren't just spamming 3-point shots. Like, what did Larry shoot? What, like two and a half threes a game, or what is it?
About two a game.
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? Like, if Larry played today, Larry would probably shoot 7-8 threes a game. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're seeking. It's a more open. It's just a different style of basketball. To me, that doesn't mean that these shooters are just now. And by average, I'm more than okay with admitting that I believe there are better shooters today than there were in those games by average, because nowadays we realize as a younger player, you realize you have to work on that. You have to be a shooter to be able to play. So it's just a different style. But also I want to reiterate that just because back in those days, just because you were a shooter doesn't mean that you're just out here shooting a gang of threes. And Larry Bird is a prime example of that.
Larry Bird, who played in the 80s, so isn't relevant to the 90s conversation. But I do get your point. Yeah, there were shooters who didn't shoot a bunch of threes. Yes,
because that wasn't the game.
I said
that.
The
game. That's simple.
Yeah, because they lacked the common sense to understand the three was worth more. Yes,
no,
I understand.
Okay, that's
good money. You don't just shoot a shot just because it's more.
Y'all gotta stop letting Mars rile you up with this dumb shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
stop letting Mars.
I don't know what to tell you. Larry Bird will come off a bunch of pin downs to the elbow. We don't come up pin downs for threes.
Because that's just how basketball.
Yeah, we understand.
I understand it wasn't the game. That's why the game was lost.
Look,
that's fine. No, see, but Jalen. See, remember Jalen when we did Jalen when you and Seven was on that stream, and we was going through some of the games. We were just going over.
Down. Yeah.
So it's fine for Mars to think that this style is better than that style. Some people think this style is better than that style because they want a more up. I don't know. I'm just a bunch of they like this style. I prefer the other style. So that's just what that is. So for Mars to say it's worse, that's how he feels. I don't feel like it's worse. That's how I feel.
So is every ever worse? Like this?
To some people, I'm seeing now. Chill town. It just depends on who you are. Chill. That's what I'm seeing now. Some people said there's guys out there still that think the 70s was the best era. So whatever.
Yeah, but most of them have dementia now, so who cares? But the only era where the era before was better than the era after is the 60s being better than the 70s. That's it. Every other era, the 80s is worse than the 90s. The 90s is worse than the 2000s. The 2010s stinks. I'm not gonna lie. I'm done with the 2010s. I'm done with the 2010s. 2000s, 2010s, toss up, and then 2020s clears all of them. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Either they couldn't shoot, which I'm not against saying they.
Mars, stop saying that they couldn't shoot. There's a difference between I don't do it and I can't do it.
Either they couldn't shoot threes. Either they couldn't shoot threes, or the coaches were too dumb to realize that the three was better than a 20-foot mid-range jump. That's the
You
option.
see, but you see,
To me, it's not about-
players can
it's
with
not
bad
about-
players.
It's not about being too dumb or
It's
lacking
dumb.
common
It's
sense.
dumb.
No, hold on. I understand from mathematical perspective, Mars is right? The value of the
Common sense,
3-point
yeah,
shot. Yeah,
yes.
we understand.
we're not
that now.
talking about math,
but-
Jalen. We're talking about
Yeah,
basketball.
I know. I
We're
said
talking
about
about
yeah.
basketball.
But hold on, no.
Go ahead, Jalen. Finish your point.
To go against Mars, I want to say to get to the point where we acknowledge that it's more common sense or more mathematically correct to shoot a 3 than a long mid-range 2. We needed the play of the 90s and the 2000s to get there and understand that. We needed players shooting what they did to eventually learn that, and that's okay, right? So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing through today's eyes.
If you couldn't figure out that 3 is worth 50% more than a 2, and you needed
doing that.
20 years of a 3-point line to figure that out. Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't around at the time, so I can't say I would have had the common sense. But I'm sorry, it's just common sense.
No,
Mars,
but
I
Mars,
don't-
we say that
every you're scoring more. That's just common
Yes, you
sense.
are. Yeah, you are.
That
Come on.
shouldn't take 20 years to figure out.
Here's the problem, though,
That shouldn't take
Jalen.
20 years.
The problem that we're having is that he's basing this off guys like Steph Curry. He's basing this on guys like Klay Thompson. He's basing this off guys like James Harden being able to shoot the long ball. Not everybody could do that. Just so you know, Mars, in the 90s, the Denver Nuggets got up a bunch of threes. They didn't get up some threes. The Denver Nuggets got up a bunch of threes, and they led the NBA in scoring. Problem was that was not a formula for winning. That was not a formula for winning. That's not the point, Mars.
That's why they didn't win it. We're gonna say they weren't winning.
No, that's not why. No,
they weren't
that's
winning
not
because
why.
they couldn't guard anyone.
No, that's not why, Mars. Because
That is why. Go look at that Denver Nuggets team defense.
So let me make so if that's true, so the same reason why they couldn't win is the same reason why the Phoenix Suns couldn't win.
Yes, the Suns didn't win because their defense was bad.
The defense was pretty bad. I agree with
That
that.
Nuggets team, I've gone back and watched the 80s and 90s,
right?
Especially the Nuggets team that were losing a bunch of games. The Nuggets you're referring to, they were just playing at a crazy fast pace. Like go
they led the league in scoring. They led
the Nuggets teams that were losing a bunch of games, which is the teams Cho's referring to because they weren't a Formula 20. Those Nuggets teams that were losing were playing at a crazy pace, just getting up and down, running and gunning. They weren't guarding anyone. And their offense wasn't even very efficient. They just got up a bunch of shots, which is why they led the league in scoring.
Which recognizes,
did they lead the league in offensive rating, which is actually the most efficient offense? No, because they were just running and gunning. They were just getting the first shot available, and that's what they were doing. That's why there wasn't a formula for winning. They couldn't guard anyone, and their offense wasn't very efficient. So when the game did slow down in the playoffs, which it still does today, and your offense isn't very efficient, and you can't guard anyone, you're gonna get cooked. That's why they weren't very good. That's why.
But
that's the reason.
No, that's not only the reason, Mars. That's not only the reason. The point that I was making is the Denver Nuggets shot a bunch of threes, and that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to transition the game into the long ball. The fact that they didn't defend, I think that has something to do with it, but it doesn't have nearly as much to do with it because we actually seen teams who shoot the long ball at a high rate and win, like the Houston Rockets. Yes, they did play defense, but they also shot the long ball at a high rate. But the difference with the Denver Nuggets is they started trying to do that, but then when the Houston Rockets showed up with Kenny Smith, with Vernon Maxwell, with Mario Elie, when they did the other stuff, it did work, sure, no doubt, but we can't discount the fact that they were doing that with the other stuff. The Denver Nuggets shot the long ball. When they shoot the long ball, this is where the game is going. Well, no, it's not going that way. When you want to shoot the long ball, you have to do other stuff. A lot of these teams today, they shoot the long ball and they don't do the other stuff, which is why they're not winning.
Yeah, I mean, every league is gonna have teams that aren't very good and they lose for certain reasons. So let's look. So 19. So when did the Nuggets start leading the league in pace?
1991.
Okay, we'll start with 1991. Okay, let's go. Bear with me. 1991, the Denver Nuggets took 13 threes a game. That was the most in the league. 13
which
threes
is a lot.
Yeah, shout out to them. Then 92, the next year, 5 threes a game, 23rd in the NBA.
Right.
The year after that, 5.5 threes a game, 25th in the NBA. The year after that, 7 threes a game, 23rd in the NBA. Now we're getting to the point where they got to Dikembe Mutombo. 14 threes a game, 18th in the NBA. And now we're getting to the mid-90s, 1996, 14 threes a game, 22nd in the NBA. So what, 1 year they led the league in threes in the 90s? 1 year, 1991?
The point is, Mars, that they tried to do that and they recognized that wasn't a winning formula.
Yeah, you know why? Because they were last in the league in defense.
It wasn't just because they were last.
The year they led the league in threes, they were last in the league in defense.
Right. And
dead last. 27.
But that still wasn't a recipe for winning, even if you
can't guard anyone.
Are you saying that the game is better today?
Are the Dallas Mavericks struggling because their offense isn't very good or because they're terrible on defense?
They're struggling because they got a guy who handles the basketball a lot more than anybody else.
So the fact that they're 23rd in defense isn't the reason. It's because Luka dribbles the ball too much.
We've seen
that's what we're going to say. Then sure, I mean, I guess, but
so
well,
how about,
I gotta
wait a minute. Hold on, Ron. The Milwaukee Bucks, they were at the bottom of the league in defense. They still was the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, so what does that prove?
That proves exactly what you just said. They ain't struggling. They were at the top of the Eastern Conference, and they weren't very good defensively.
I asked why Dallas is struggling. Every team struggles for different reasons. I asked, is Dallas struggling because their offense?
Well, you can't make Mars. You can't make the point about Dallas struggling because of their defense, but then there's another team in the Eastern Conference who isn't struggling, and their defense is just as bad. You can't do that.
Their offense was better than Dallas's.
How much better?
They were 2 in the league, I believe, at the time. And now we've got Rivers. I think.
And I'm pretty sure that what is the Dallas Mavericks offense? I think they're in the top 10. I think they're 6th in the league in pace. Yeah, so they still got a really good offense.
They do. And the reason they're struggling is because where do they rank on defense?
At the bottom of the league. Even though the Milwaukee Bucks, who at the same time had a really good offense, weren't very good defensively, but still at the top of the Eastern Conference. So
hey, Ron, before we move on, Ron.
The reason the Denver Nuggets struggled in 1991, the only year they led the league in threes, is because they were dead last in defense. Dead last. 27 out of 27.
Every team has different struggles.
So to say they were struggling because they got up a bunch of threes.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
You said that's not a winning formula. Them losing is not proof that the threes is why they weren't a winning formula. The reason they weren't a winning formula is because they couldn't play defense. That's the reason. That's the sole reason.
That could definitely be if they're last in the NBA. That makes sense. But we also got to point out
4 points worse than the team that was 3rd to last.
We also got to point out too, though, Mars,
111 defensive rating. The Nuggets 114.7. They were so much worse than the 3rd worst defense. Like that's why they were banned. Like we can't just be, they shot 12 threes a game, so hey, they're not a winning formula. Like no, they didn't guard anyone. That's the reason.
It could be a mix of both. It could be a mix.
The Rockets were second in threes attempted by 0.8 threes. They were a pretty good team that year. 50-win team, pretty good. You know why? Second in defense.
Y'all also got to remember that a lot of
because one was a second-ranked defense, one was 27th. Come on.
Go ahead, Ox.
Well, just
after
real
this,
quick,
we're moving on, fellas.
We also I missed a couple seconds, but I don't know if anybody pointed out another reason why there wasn't just a high volume of threes too, other than the fact that they were stupid, of course, was that besides the fact of just being complete idiots, they also had a lot of guys that could work on the block, guys you could dump it down to. There was a higher skill set around the basket as far as big men go, guys you can dump the ball down to that got multiple post moves, all different types of things like that. So it's not just being dumb, it's also being better on the block as well.
Oh, I agree with that. Definitely more post work back then. I mean, when you did get doubled in the post and you're swinging out for spot and mid-range jumpers, stupid. But other than that, I agree. We were going to the bigs more and they were taking more post shots, post fades, drop steps, blah, blah, all of that. I understand that. I've watched them play basketball. I understand. Those post ups, when you get doubled out the post and then you swing and then it's a spot up mid-range shot, common sense would say make that a spot up three. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying go dribble up in transition, pull up three. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you force a double team and now the defense is rotation and you're swinging, instead of taking the mid-range spot up, take the spot up three. That's just common sense. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they should never take mid-range jumpers. I don't even say that about today's game. In fact, I say people should probably take more mid-range jumpers in today's game. But spotting up, common sense would say spot up from three. If you're gonna spot up from one step inside the 3-point line, should probably spot up from three. And if you want to say it's not that simple, that's untrue, because when they were double teaming in the 90s, you know what that meant? Someone was wide open. And if someone's wide open, you can choose where you want to stand. So if you want to stand in the corner, you should probably stand behind the 3-point line when you're in the corner. You
can't just choose like that.
More than likely,
it also depends on where the double. It depends also where the double is coming.
More than likely,
if you get doubled in the post, that means they're probably going to double off the guy who's closest to you on the wing.
You don't
swing.
Even if that's true,
you don't know that's not how it works though. You don't. So before these these games, you know who you're doubling off of. It's not like you just it's a random double.
You know why you got away with that? Because some people couldn't shoot, so you could double off.
Well, you know what I'm saying. But
once again,
what I'm saying is no matter how you look at it, it's not going to always be today, it's not going to always be
going on today.
And when there's non-shooters,
we gotta move on. We have to move on. I'm sorry. We have to move on. I've been trying to move on for the last 15
going
minutes.
On today.
Teddy Hart with the super chat said after Adam Silver talked about bringing more balance to the game, what defensive adjustments do you think he'll consider? No more threes in the key. No more three in the key. Maybe no more jerk your head back. Pause on minimal layup contact, getting automatic free throws. What do you guys think Adam Silver can do to add more balance to the game?
How can you stop people from exacerbating contact?
Tell the refs.
I think just bring the handshake back. I think bring the handshake back.
Hold on, wait, fellas. We got one mic at a time. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Bring the handshake back. I think we have such elite shooters. I think the handshake will be fine. You bring the handshake back, I think it'll definitely slow down the game a little bit, make it tougher for these guys. But again, I think the shooting will kind of balance it out where it won't totally slow down the game to the back where it was and the reason they got rid of it. So I think bringing the handshake back will do wonders. It'll bring if people complain about the physicality of the league, it'll bring back some of that physicality. So I think it kind of appeases both sides to it, right? The older generation who kind of want that tougher, quote unquote, maybe tougher defense, physical defense back, bring that back. But I think it also allows the skill set to still show and the shooting will still be there. So it won't hold back the offensive ton. Bring the hand check back. I think it's pretty simple.
What's up, Mars?
I don't want to point out that people still put their arms on people on the perimeter again. I don't want to. So what do you? So let's just say they don't do that, right? Even though they clearly do. Let's say they didn't do that because it was out.
They get called for fouls for that today.
Yeah, sure. So let's say
an alarming rate too, but
sure. Let's say that's the case. So what do you do when you put your hands on someone that you can't do today's game? You just can't do it. So what do you do when someone does that and then they rip through and they draw a shooting foul? That's not a foul.
Do we get rid of that? I mean, if they rip it through like that, do we get rid of that call?
So is that what you're gonna say? That's just not.
I'm gonna say yeah. So if it's like that, yes. If you bring the handshake back and just rip it through, that's not gonna be a foul. I don't think that should be a foul. That's a cheap foul.
Just smacking someone across
unethical. No. If you're initiating it, that's an unethical foul.
You're not initiating. Their hands is on you, so you're not initiating. But by definition of initiation, you wouldn't be initiating.
So if their hands on you, we're bringing the handshake back, and you intentionally just swipe the ball like that just to get the contact. No, that's an easy judgment call. I understand it is a judgment call.
Okay, so if I rip through to drive and they just smack my whole arm, that's not a foul.
I think the whole rip through idea is going to be no foul. That whole idea of ripping through to try to get contact on your hands, no foul. That's not.
I'm not trying to get contact. He's already touching me.
I mean, I think if
the hand check dislodged the ball from his hands when you're on a rip through, though, that would be a foul. Anything that causes you to lose possession of the ball by not hitting the ball would be called a foul.
Yeah, that's so how would you like? Because it's all great to add these rules. First of all, they do touch people. Pause. They do. I don't know. They do. So even if they didn't, so someone touching your hip or wherever they're touching, you want to drive right.
Yeah.
So anyone who knows you got the ball triple threat, you drive right, you're gonna rip through. Which means because their arm is on you, they're going to hit you. That's not a foul.
Mars, those fouls were called in the 80s, 90s, 70s. Those fouls were still called when you slap somebody on the arm or when you physically alter somebody from shooting or dribbling. It's still going to be a foul. No matter what, even if you do put in hand checking. Hold on, right quick. Even if you do put in hand checking, it's still going to be a foul. And it's still going to be people that rip through and stuff like that. Okay, that's going to be a foul. That's common sense. Thing about it is that still doesn't deter the defense from hand checking, though. It still allows them to play better defense on the offense.
Hand check now,
Mars.
And it's a foul.
Not hand check to the extent
they do.
That they did in the
hand check, Mars.
They do. They do.
And it's a foul.
And it is times when they hand check and they get away with it too. But it's not to the extent of what they used to do back in the 90s. It's not even close. We can't even compare it.
People up above the 3-pointer.
You said what?
Back in the day, you weren't even picking people up above the 3-pointer.
Right.
So who you hand checking if you're not even close to them?
You hand check on the drives.
My question, Mars, do you understand?
No, Mars. It's not close. I'm telling you, it's not. It's not even in the same
universe. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we clearly both watch the game, so we just disagree. They do it now.
Hand checking is going on, Mars. But more times than not, it's a foul. Some guys do get away with it. Yes, they do. but more times than not, it's a foul. I'm
If it was
not
more
sure.
times than not, there'd be a foul every play because they're doing it every play.
And they're not getting away with it every play. That's the point.
They're not hand
They
checking.
call it now,
Don't
but
do it
every
every
play,
play.
defenders are putting hands on people. Every
Right,
play.
they are. I
Which
don't
means they don't
argue
get
that.
away with it more often than not because there's not a
I
foul
don't
on
argue that.
100% of the possessions.
I that's not true, Mars. And the reason why that's not true because
What?
they're not. Let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly, Mars. You're telling me this is what you're telling me. You're telling me that when I put my hands on you, I get called for a foul every time. I don't get called for a foul every time.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you don't get called for a foul every time. Which, by the way, me putting my hands on you, it's not a foul every time I put my hands on you because there's a difference between contact and illegal contact. I can put my hands on you. That's legit. So now when you're talking about ripping through, and I don't have my hands on you, and then you go that way, and I'm able to put my hands on you, and I'll guide you in a different way, that's called hand checking. You can't do that anymore. That's a foul. As opposed to when I got my hand on you, where I'm just touching you, and then you rip through, and then I hit your arm while you're trying to get your arm back. I'm not sure if that's a foul. I don't think that that's a foul. But when you're talking about bringing hand checking back to some degree, it's going to be there. That's going to happen.
So what version of hand checking are we bringing back?
I just I'm not against. I'm
90s
not
hand
against.
checking. We'll do 90s hand checking.
What I'm not against. I'm not against getting rid of hand checking. When you say the version of hand checking, I'm not against actually putting my hands on guys. Not like they were doing where I could basically guide you all the way to the baseline. Because back then, if I got my hand on you and I threw your arm away, that's an offensive foul. I saw Shaq get called for that a bunch of different times. So there has to be a variation where I can put my hands on you and it's not a detriment. Pass that, Damo, by the way.
I think it's more so the body contact for me. Like you should be able to, as a defender, you should be able to use your body more. It shouldn't be every time, especially with the offense initiating the contact, that it's a foul. If the offense initiates the contact as a defender, you should be able to hold your ground, no matter what. If I'm coming down the lane full speed and I step over and you just lower your shoulder into me, that should not be a foul on me. I should be able to stand there.
That's a fact. That's fact.
I should be able to stand there and take your contact and be able to even stop your contact and be able to hold my ground. That's my biggest thing.
I won't argue that. You cuffing the ball and you running down the lane. No, that's not a foul on the defense. I'm not going to argue that.
Don't we think that the changes in defense, though, the next couple of years are going to more so be what's happening in the paint and what's allowed in the paint for defense?
It's going to be defensive 3 seconds. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be at the rim. It's going to be defensive 3 seconds. There's going to be more allowance for defenders to play a little bit more physical in that area. Some of the European rules that already exist, no defensive 3 seconds. There's no goaltending, all that stuff as well. Like those are certain things that I'm not saying that the NBA is going to do that, but that's what it is. That's what
like in FIBA, you talking about like knock the ball up the rim.
Right,
I like
yeah.
that. I like that.
I would love that.
I
Yeah,
like that. They need to bring that to the NBA. If the ball's just
Do you
sitting
think
on the rim,
do you think it would make a big difference for Ock? Do you think that would make a big difference for offense at all? Like if you were able to get that one bounce and then knock it off?
Yeah, but you know what though, Swiper. With that being said, it takes a while to get used to that. Like I never got used to that. I've never done it, even though it was allowed. I'm just like, it's so weird to be able to knock the ball off the rim. But I think it's good for I don't know how much of a difference it'll make. Honestly, I got to see it happen. But I think it's a good idea because that ball, when it's just sitting up there on the rim, bro. Like,
yeah, think about that.
Do you get credited with a block for that if the ball's on the rim and you?
I think it's a rebound. I think it's a rebound.
Wait, so even if someone shoots a three,
you're gonna average 20 rebounds a game and 10 blocks.
Yeah,
so
if you shoot a three and the ball goes like this in the rim,
yeah, you can
nah, you ain't doing that. Ain't no way we doing that.
Wemby's gonna average 20 rebounds and 10 blocks.
Ain't no way we doing that. We not doing that.
But if they do this where they take that off, where there's no more goaltending plus the non-take foul, I do think transition points would be outrageous. Like think about how often you'd be able to get out and run in full court transition and all that stuff too. So I mean, look, the thing we all agree on,
they do it in FIBA rules already, y'all. So
right. Yeah, the thing we all agree on is that the NBA is significantly behind on this end when it comes to playing defense in the NBA, which is why Gilbert Arenas and them that are talking about the NBA is soft and because of European players and all that. One of the reasons why that sounds so crazy and a little xenophobic, obviously, is just because of the fact that, like, when you're playing in Europe, all these people say that it's much easier to score in America because there just are more rule advantages for the offense.
Lucas said
so. Yeah, Lucas said it. Jokic even talked about this before. Giannis had mentioned some things like this before. Like this is just a clear, obvious thing that I think a lot of the things that are happening on the European in European basketball, I think could really help the NBA to make a better product as a whole. Now, here's the thing though. I think in the playoffs, I think that things do tighten up a little bit. Like the whistle is a little bit freer. Like we're not going to call a lot of this contact the further you get into the off. So, I know, Ox is a Sacramento Kings fan, so he doesn't understand this, but past the second round, typically when you do get past the second round, they do allow for more contact to be created and all that stuff. The Lakers still have a significant advantage when they get to the free throw line. They even got more free throws than the Nuggets last year, and obviously Damo remembers that, and they still got swept. But I think a lot of this is like when you get to the finals and everything else, man, like they're just going to allow for a lot of physicality to happen. So, I think that's what people are asking for.
Well,
remove the corner 3.
Extend it or remove it?
Remove it.
How can we get rid of the
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
How could we do
Make
that?
offense worse. Remove the corner 3. You see where you got the arc. That's it. There's no corner 3.
You just stop. Yeah, you just stop the line. You just cut off the line and say that's where
That's
the 2.
terrible. That's
The way they would make the 4-point line, just the arc. Make that the 3-point line, just the arc. No corner 3s.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. That's terrible.
If you want
Why is that terrible?
If you want offense to be,
Why is that terrible? That's just why I'm saying, because it doesn't make any sense to do it. That's why it's terrible.
Why does
it does make sense to do. It will remove the offense's ability to, the normal spacing rules the offenses go by. Why we're just gonna have a PJ Tucker or somebody to stretch the floor, just sit in the corner. Now you can do that for the same spacing. It just won't be for 3 points. It'll be for 2 points.
Yeah, so that changes just changes the whole offense. That changes the whole game. Like when you run in a fast break, right? And you got people run to the corner to space the floor. They run to that corner and they space the floor. They space the floor because it's a 3. Like if I'm running there,
now they run to the
now they run to the wing, or they can still run to that corner and it'll just be a 2.
No,
you're shortening the space.
So look, hold on, real
Please
quick.
don't ruin my
now
sport.
all of a sudden people are mad that I'm trying to reduce space.
No, I don't.
And the whole argument about the 90s
Please
has been
don't
about
ruin my sport.
Okay, so let me finish my point real quick. Because the point is like you're allowed to make that space because that's a 3-point shot. So now you have to space out the defense. It just changes the whole. It changes all types of offensive schemes, everything when you're running, because it takes the corner out of the basketball. That's not. That's just.
But I'm saying, we ever since we had the 3-point line, Ox, we've had that.
Okay, Ox, that literally what you're saying is the point. We want to.
Yeah, but why would you want that?
Because we want to find a way not to
want to make offense.
Yeah, we want to make offense at least harder. We want to change something about how teams are running offenses to favor the defense. Back in the day, we talked about it watching that damn All-Star game on playback. Do you not remember? Oh, all those guys are at the paint and it's harder to get to the paint because of less spacing. Okay, if the NBA is too spaced out, is too much space. Okay, remove some of the damn space.
I'm saying we shouldn't hinder the offense. We should stop. We should take the shackles off the defense.
How do you take the shackles off?
You can still stand in the corner.
How do you take the shackles off the defense without impacting the offense in some way? What rule does that?
But see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, Damo. I don't have to make offensive rules like shortening the court or whatever, however you explain that. But instead allow. What, Mars? What?
Just remove the corner.
I think that Damo,
I think that's just crazy because we can just easily allow these guys to play more of a physical style of defense all over the court. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. We can allow defense to actually touch the offense without blowing a whistle, as opposed to just not allowing you to shoot threes in the corner. Like that just changes the whole game.
Who do we think?
Hold on, Sharper. Can I now ask, if we're allowing players to be more physical offensive players, does that not hinder the offense in some way? Now that defenders are able to be more rough and physical with you, if they're not capable of guarding you, they can just get rough with you.
That's my point. My point, Damo, is that you can do that without changing the whole game. What I'm saying is, if you take out that corner 3, that changes all the schemes. So I'm saying we can make it a better brand. It might not be what you guys consider a better brand, but to me, we can make a better brand of basketball if we allow the defense to actually touch people. That's not changing the offensive rules. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't need to change the offensive rules, like where you're allowed to go and what counts for what. But it's still gonna be a difference. We don't got to change up the whole offense to do that though.
understand, Damo, that when you're talking about the corner long ball, like teams run offenses because of the corner long ball. That's a part of their offense. So
Right.
if you take that out, that now means that I have to change my offense, as opposed to if you keep and I understand that you're trying to get an advantage for the defense, but I mean I'm going to shorten the lane because I'm going to shorten the lane because the big man is or guard. I can't just don't things like that. I think you do something completely different. I should be able to close
the lane when bigs were too dominant in the paint.
They did do that, right? They
had a problem with that. Well, no one had a problem with it. I don't know about back in the 50s.
Back then, I'm sure that they did have a problem with it. The point that I'm making is that when you take something like that out of the game, you completely dismantle what a team is trying to do, whether it's offensively, whether it's defensively. You completely do that. And I mean, I understand that we want to make more advantages for the defense, but something like that, there's some way that we can do something when it comes to the defense where I could close out better, where I can be. That's not to say that guys can't be more. That's not to say that guys aren't physical today, because I feel like guys are physical. I think that's overblown, the logic that guys aren't physical and you can't touch guys, because you can put your hands on guys. We had that. You just can't clothesline guys like the Detroit Pistons was doing, but you can put your hands on guys. The point is that I think that we shouldn't have to take away from the defense. We shouldn't have to take away from the offense completely in order to do something like that. I think that taking the corner three out of the game, that throws a monkey wrench in what we're trying to do.
Chill, what somebody just said in the chat too, Chill, was a perfect example of how that changes everything. Like if I'm running a pick and roll and I don't got a guy weak side in the deep corner, it's like now defense can just sag right here. We're not able to run those schemes anymore.
Well, you do. I just don't have them at the long ball.
Everyone can still be in that corner.
But it's not as valuable though, Damo. That's the point. He's not as valuable.
But when I said spotting up in the 90s from mid-range wasn't valuable and it wasn't smart, all of a sudden the game was different. Now I'm trying to make the game different. Oh no, we can't do it. When they were doing it back then, it was fine. When it was a two back then, it was fine.
I feel like we're talking about things that would never happen though.
I'm saying, Mars, that's my point. I'm not trying to change. I'm not trying to change
his mouth with this.
Now look, but chill. What I'm saying,
yes, Mars. 1 minute. You didn't, Mars. When you told, go ahead. 1 second, Big Ox. Mars, when you told me about the mid range and about big guys being able to shoot the mid range, that was bad basketball. But now what you wanted,
mid-range jumpers was bad, yes.
Which is going to be the same thing if you take the long ball.
And you told me it wasn't bad, but now you're against this.
No, Mars, we didn't say it wasn't bad. You just said it was a different game.
A game
now,
that you preferred.
Okay, but Mars, just wait, Mars. I'm tired of the I'm trying to debunk what you said. I'm just trying to cook type shit. I'm just trying to talk basketball, bro.
That's what he's doing.
I can't do this shit. I can't do this shit for 3 hours.
No, we good because Mars is playing on words. 1 minute he tells me that.
I know. So
1 minute got a guy in the mid range, who was like Otis Thorpe or Horace Grant or Buck Williams was knocking down the mid range. Take one step back. And you can shoot the 3-point line there. You can shoot the long ball. But you can shoot the long ball. And I'm talking about how prevalent that was in the game. I'm talking about how big a deal that was in the game. But now you want to take away the corner three. Yes. You want to take away the corner three. And in the process of you taking away the corner three, which is a part of the offense, and space, which is a part of the offense and spaces the floor, we don't have to completely get rid of that to help the defense. There's other ways to help the defense.
Okay, and I think that's the best way.
So look, Mars, what I'm saying is this. I'm not going to try to keep going back and forth trying to cook your takes and all that shit. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to talk basketball. I didn't say that this was. I said this was the style I like, but it's not the style of basketball they're playing anymore. So why would you then want to just change the whole game now? Like we've already changed from this to this to this. If we're already at this style of play, why would you take out the corner three and just switch it all back to what you said was stupid basketball?
I've said this before. First of all, the reason it was stupid in the 90s is because there was a 3-point line there, which means if you're not utilizing the 3-point line when it's right there, that would be stupid. If there's no 3-point line there, spot it from there, sure, because there's no benefit to taking a step back anymore because there's no extra point available. That's the difference between the 90s having a corner three and they didn't use it versus now no corner three. And there's nothing for them to use. That's why it's different.
Well, I'm saying that they didn't use it is crazy. I mean, definitely.
I'm talking about when they would spot up from mid-range jumpers.
Mid-range, okay.
When they were doing that, when there's a 3-point line right there, that's why it was stupid. If there was no 3-point line right there, no one would have a problem with them taking that shot. But I spoke about this corner 3 thing for a while. This is long. I've been speaking about this.
This is the first time I've heard y'all
say
this.
I've been. First of all, teams can have bad shooters like a Bilal Coulibaly, even though you guys wanted to tell me he wasn't that bad. Bad shooters, Bilal Coulibaly, Matisse Thybulle, Isaac Okoro, Jared Vanderbilt, and they will stand in the corner. And they might shoot 33%. Let's say 33%. That's about 1 point per possession. If you make that a 2, that's now 0.7 points per possession. One of the most efficient shots you can get in a half-court offense is free throws, obviously, layups, and corner 3s. The league average for corner 3s is 39.3%, somewhere in that range. If teams got corner 3s, that would equal a 118 offensive rating. That's how efficient a corner 3 is. Now, if you make them shoot 39% and they're all 2s, that's a 0.8. So a 80 offensive rating. That means there's a 40 point per 100 possession difference from corner 3s versus no corner 3s. Offenses will get exponentially more inefficient if you take away the corner 3. Then you know what that does? You don't have people who can hide in the corners. PJ Tucker, no Bruce Bowens. People who aren't shooters but who can space the floor and get the extra value of a point because they can shoot from one spot. Now,
what's wrong with that, Mars? What's wrong with that?
They're not good offensive players providing elite offensive value because of the corner 3-point shot being shorter. Now they don't provide that value.
What's wrong with having a corner?
Now you want to have better offensive players on the floor. Not sure. I mean, I'm not arguing. I'm not
Keep
saying
going, Mars. Keep going, Mars. I'm listening.
But now you have actual viable offensive threats who either can shoot above the break 3s, which is the most difficult 3s in the game, top of the key above the break. So you have those. Yeah. So you got the real shooters taking good shots. And then now you got more space to work in inside the arc. And now defense doesn't have to rotate to the corner every play. So defenses don't have as hard rotations to make because they don't have to go run people off the line in the corner, because that's what they do now. Because the corner is the most valuable 3, they have to run people off the corner. Then you collapse your defense, you're in rotation. Now you don't have to do that because it's not worth an extra point. So even if they shoot 50% from there, it's not as valuable as someone shooting 40% on above the break 3s. So now defenses have something they can give away. In today's game, there's nothing defenses can give away. That's why they settle for allowing teams to take mid-range jumpers, because that's the least efficient shot in basketball. Now there's nothing for defenses to live with. Now there is something for defenses to live with. They can live with someone getting a shot in the corner.
Mid-range shot still one of the most valuable shots in like high leverage situations in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's why I say the analytics only works in a broad spectrum. Right. When you crunch it down to crunch time in the clutch.
I know there's a reason why Boston might not win.
Yes, exactly. And I've been saying this for so long. The analytics game works.
They got no mini shield.
The moment where possessions mean more, field goal percentage beats true shooting. I've always said that. The moment you get to where it's only 2 possessions, as long as you can make shots, it doesn't matter where the shot comes from. As long as you can make shots. I've always been saying that. But in a general broad spectrum, you can live with corner shots now because they're only worth 2. The best shooters are going to be the only ones actually shooting 3s instead of having non-shooters space the floor from corner 3s. Now you only have the Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Luke Kennards of the world, Grayson Allen. They're going to be shooting above the break 3s. You get the good shooters actually shooting, and there's no place to hide bad shooters. So now you have better offensive players on the court to make up for the differential in corner 3s. Now defenses don't have to rotate to the corner, so it makes offense have to be better. You can't have bad offensive players on the floor now and hide them in the corner. And defenses have it easier because they don't have to rotate to the corner. Win-win.
Now, with that being said, Mark, everything that you just said make a lot of sense. Here's the difference, though. Like you just mentioned. So, which long ball is the most difficult?
Above the break.
Okay, so above the break. So that's the most difficult. So we live in a long ball league, which means that these players, because they're going to be left open, they're going to be taking a lot of bad shots. With the corner 3 now being out of the game, now numbers are going to go down in terms of offense, in terms of scoring, which is the problem that we now, once again, I know we're talking about defense, but this is the problem that we had, which is why the game got turned into this, why the game is expanded the way it's expanded. Now you want to take the long ball at the corner out of the game, scoring is going to go down, production is going to go down. And what do people like to see? They like to see scoring, which means viewership is going to go down.
So why are we changing anything? Huh? I thought we wanted the offenses to be neutralized. I thought we wanted offenses to be worse because the whole issue we've been having is offense is too easy. Right. Now I'm trying to make offense worse or make defense better, however you want to call it.
Right.
All of a sudden, the fans want to see offense. Huh? So what do we want? Do we want to make offense worse or do we want to keep offense the same?
This is what
I
this is what
I wasn't proposing making any changes. You know what I'm saying?
This is what I'm saying.
I just wanted to play.
Yeah, they are. If there was a change to make,
and this is what's gonna. And I'm telling you, Mars, this is what's gonna happen if that happens. The numbers are gonna go down. Defense is gonna be tougher because defense is gonna get more physical, which is why we actually changed it in the first place to make things easier for the offense, so scoring can go up. And with scoring going up, viewership goes up. So because this is going on now.
I think it's about
a good point right there, Chill, because it's all about the money. It's just for the casual fan. You know, it's just for the casual fan. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like the 90s, that was the basketball. Like this is more for the casual. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool for them.
So we don't need to change anything.
Well, I don't know what
I don't think
it'll never be what it once was because of the money.
I'd like to acknowledge
the question was
this whole conversation that we're having is to avoid Chilltown having to address Jason Tatum. By the way, this is the point of this. We've been an hour and a half talking about this, so Chill didn't have to avoid talk about Jason Tatum.
Unfortunately,
we're
still going to continue on this topic. Chill, you're not going to be able to address Jason Tatum right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now.
Okay.
Because we got to go ahead and get into our verses. 90s versus current era. We got to do it. It's about that time.
It's going to be bad.
So, I got 13 topics for everybody.
We will get to this, Swiper. This is not over.
13 topics, and I need everybody to vote on which era was better in each topic.
Somebody just walked in the middle and broke the fight up, but I'm gonna see you in a minute. We're not done. Nuh-uh. I'm gonna catch you outside. That's all it is. But keep going, Ron.
I think Ron froze. But I just want to say, just because something's better doesn't mean the other thing is
the very
bad.
first topic that we're doing, and it's 90s versus current era.
That's exactly what it means, Mars. What are you talking about?
It doesn't mean it's bad.
It means it's worse.
Yeah, it's worse. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just be worse than what it is. And that's okay.
Okay, Ron, I'm sorry.
But the 90s was bad. Just
Asafa Powell is a worse 100-meter runner than Usain Bolt, but Asafa Powell is still amazing.
Yeah, but the 90s isn't Asafa Powell. The 90s is me.
No, the 90s. Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson go crazy.
The 90s was not true. That's not true. No, it wasn't.
Speaking of running and jumping and all of that good stuff, the first category for the 90s versus the current era, and the current era it's now in the last 10 years, is athleticism. I'm gonna go around the room. I need everybody to give me their tally. Athleticism. What era was more athletic? 90s or the last 10 years? Swiper, I'm gonna start with you.
What era is more athletic, the 1800s or the 1900s? It's obviously now. It's called evolution, human progression. Genetics get better. Look at Ox would have been a first-round draft pick in 1946.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He wasn't even eligible to be drafted.
I don't know about that Swiper. It was some ballers back then, bro.
All right, well,
You've been on the Hall of Fame cover right next to Bob Cousy, bro.
Bob Cousy would not let him stand next to him. What are we talking about?
We got one for the current era. Jalen, who you got?
Without a doubt, current era, more athletic. They have the tools to become more athletic. Like you said, human evolution, progression. This should be unanimous.
Damo.
Current era.
Chill.
I'm gonna be the contrarian in the 90s. Evolution takes.
Chill. This is why I don't chill. This is why people be saying we done with the 90s.
I'm gonna just be the contrarian here. That's why.
You don't even believe it. You don't even believe it.
Yeah,
I don't. I don't. But I'm just gonna be the contrarian here because human evolution takes millions of years. So
not just 15 years.
Yeah, human evolution.
We're talking about evolution in a sport.
Fun fact: do you know that women are getting faster at a faster rate than men? And by the time we get to the 2100s, it's going to be where there can be some races that you'll see between men and women are going to be able to beat a lot of the men in the race by the Olympics.
Well, here's the thing, though. Since we're on the subject of seeing, I won't be around in the 2100s, so I won't see that. So I will not be around.
We're going to be done with Usain Bolt soon. That's what I'm hearing. We're going to be done with Usain Bolt.
Yo, that's crazy.
I try to say that statistic is a little flawed because because there's more of a gap to be made in terms of getting faster. But I think the overall peak of what a human body can do, men still have a higher peak of a level of speed they can reach than women. That's just
I always knew Jalen.
I see you and Maya Moore go one-on-one right now. I bet you want to score a bucket.
Yeah, sure, because that's Maya Moore against me. But you put Maya Moore against another retired NBA guy, she's getting cooked 12.
Hey, Jalen, I know some college basketball players over here, women's, that'll give you everything you can handle.
And I'm gonna give
play college basketball. Jalen just a regular civilian.
Hey, that's what I'm saying.
I hope they could give him one.
On the basketball court, they're gonna give me work. We gonna show him a little something after the court.
I'm happy y'all brought it up because I thought.
All right, Jalen's packed up. Check it.
You knew that was coming. You opened the door, so you knew that was
Yeah,
coming.
Brian, you crazy bring that up with Jalen, but
That's
I'm
my
happy,
reaction to this.
I'm happy y'all brought it up. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to because I thought I was going to be the one to have to do it. But shout out to South Carolina. That was a great game against LSU. I don't know what took Coach Mulkey so long to put Flage on Malaysia because Malaysia was going crazy. She should have put Flage on her back in the second quarter. Shout out to him. Shout out to USC. I had Stanford. Y'all know I had Stanford. But Jojo. First of all, like I said earlier before that, though, it was Mackenzie Forbes that kind of led that charge. I'm not saying Juju didn't do shit, but Juju ain't do shit. Shout out to Juju though, because she is still top 3. But yeah, man, yesterday was a great day for women's basketball. If you don't know, NCAA women's basketball is the best basketball on earth. Y'all make sure to check out the tournament. It's coming soon. Great game.
Absolutely right.
And Camilla Cardoso did what she had to do.
Ox, you're absolutely right. Juju is top 3, a top 3 shot chucker.
That's it. That's what she is.
I ain't seen this kind of green light since.
We gotta get back to this. It will be
I've been hearing Ron talk about Juju this, Juju that. You talking about Juju Arenas? What in the world?
That's all she do.
Well, I mean, Cameron Brink is the best women's basketball player in college basketball. That took the L though, but
she's the what?
No, she is not. Caitlin Clark is the best player in the country.
Come on, man. I mean, I love Brink. Brink is cold. Brink is cold.
Fellas, we gotta get back to it.
Clark is the best player.
We gotta get back to this. My man Cam only got so much time. Otherwise, you guys know I'll talk women's hoop all day. But we gotta go ahead and get through this. Mars, it's on you. Mars, it's on you.
Current.
All right. Ox, it's on you. Current or nice.
I think it's relatively the same.
So if it's relatively the same, which one are you leaning towards?
No, I'm not leaning either way. It's the same.
All right, cool.
Down the middle.
All right, next category we got is superstars. Which era has the best superstars? Swiper.
Which era, like relative to any to now?
No, 90s or today.
I mean, Devin Booker would be a top 5 player in the 90s right now. So shoot, it's now for sure. Devin Booker might win a ring in the 90s. He ain't winning one now, but he might win one in the 90s. Tell you that much.
3P in the 90s.
I mean,
MVPs, couple MVPs in the 90s.
No. That's you're tripping.
I didn't win a couple MVPs.
No, it's definitely now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go definitely now. I just think the top players are more skilled, better at the top 2. They're just more stars.
The superstars in the last 10 years. I could put a laundry list of guys who will all be top 5 if you put them in the 90s. It's a very short list of guys in the 90s who were deemed superstars that'll be top 5 today. So I'm going with today.
Chill.
I don't think it's because of their games, but I think the game is much more marketable today than what it was back then. And we see a lot of these guys more today than we seen back then. I'm on record saying I would love to have seen Stockton more. I would love to have seen Malone more. I would love to have seen Alex English. I would love to have seen these guys more than what we see today. And the guys that are playing today, we could see these guys a lot more. So absolutely today.
Chill. I was thinking no superstar. He's not even on the NBA top 75, even though he led the 80s.
Which is nuts. That's nuts.
Oh, he ain't make NBA.
No, he did not.
No, Dame made it. Dame and them made it.
Because it's rigged. It's rigged.
Yeah.
That's why.
I mean, Dame.
I don't know if you know this, Mars, but Dominique Wilkins didn't make the top 50 list neither.
Mars, which era are you taking for superstars? Current or 90s?
You know why? We seen this
current clears.
All right, Ox, which one you got?
Come on, Ron. We got Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon.
The list stops
there.
Other than those two.
The list stops there. Y'all ain't even let me keep going. We have Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Scottie Pippen.
I'll give Shaq. Okay, Shaq. I'll give you Shaq. I'll give you Shaq. That's
it's the 90s, bro. It's the 90s. It's the 90s for sure.
Now we reaching.
The 90s for sure.
Patrick Ewing versus Miles Turner. Who wins? Come on, man. Stop it.
Damo, you don't even mean that type of shit, bro. Damo, you don't gotta do that.
I do mean that. I do mean that.
Just Damo, just like I said about athleticism, just like I said about
Damo, you don't gotta do that.
Let's keep it hot because a lot of this 90s ball, I was born in 97. A lot of this 90s ball is hearsay. I'm hearing from my uncles who's a Knicks fan, my granddad who's a Knicks fan. I would have thought that I grew up thinking Ewing was just one of them boys. I thought he was a big man. That nigga's a small forward today. I'm joking. But 245 is crazy. 245 is crazy. I didn't know he was that little.
Hey, Damo. Patrick Ewing or Nas Reed from yesterday. Nas Reed.
Give me Big Jelly. Give me Big Jelly over a lot of them things. Give me Big Jelly. Come on, man.
I know you guys seen the Luka Garza minutes. That's 25 a game in the 90s. But I mean, I guess.
All right, fellas, we got to move to the next category. The next category we got is teams/role players. Who had the more complete teams? Who had the better rotations? Everything.
Come on, this is easy. This is so easy. No, come on now.
More complete teams. Oh my god.
It's on you, Cam. Swiper.
Role players?
Better construction of teams.
Let me ask you this, Ron, in response. Do you think Luke Longley would be a rotation player right now? And if so, would he be playing for the Boston Celtics?
Are you saying Luke Longley's weak?
Bill Wennington.
Oh, it's bad. It's real bad.
Luke Longley's better than Luke Cornett.
100% he is.
1,000%. What are you saying about Luke Longley?
100%.
Luke Longley would not be a basketball player in today's life.
Dylan, I highly doubt that you've ever watched Luke Longley play.
I really went and saw all the Bulls championship runs. Yes, we saw Luke Longley play. Y'all just upset now. This is the problem.
Y'all wild as hell right now.
Oxygen need
y'all
love,
upset.
bro.
Y'all just upset.
Yeah, you guys are talking about the role.
This is what I'm saying about earlier, Ron. This is why I'm ashamed of you, Ron, for making us sit through this dumb shit.
You guys are talking about role players on the good teams. You start looking at the role players on the bad teams.
Come on,
Swiper, I got to get back to your answer. Which one are you taking?
Yeah, it's obvious. It's obviously now Malik Monk would be an all-time great in the 1990s.
Facts.
All right, we got one for the current era. Jalen, who you got?
Yeah, it's definitely the current era. I think Alex Caruso might be a star in the 90s the way he's been playing too. So I think today's role players are just better. They're more skilled. They could do more things on the basketball court than the 90s. And that's okay. They're just better than the 90s. That's okay. Doesn't mean the 90s was trash. Just because a guy couldn't play in today's league because they played in the 90s. Again, progression. It happens. It's cool. Steve Kerr, I mean, he'd be borderline. He can shoot great, but other than that, he's real borderline.
All right, Damo, who you got?
In terms of role players and team construction, do I got current era or do I have the 90s? I'm going to go with current era. I love how I feel like more teams are balanced in terms of what they can do in the current era in terms of team construction.
I think we lost.
Am I here? Am I good?
Yeah. You back.
Not just at the top, but all around the entire era, every team. I felt like it was more balanced. You didn't have 5 centers essentially on a team at any given time. I don't like that at all. It's really about preference. It's solely about my preference in the basketball I like. So I'm going current era.
Well, I think we live in a positionless game today. So because we live in a positionless game, guys don't really play. When you're talking about the construction of the roster, guys don't really play a specific position. Guys back then actually played the 4. Guys played the small forward. Guys played the 2 guard. Guys played the lead guard. Guys played the 5 spot. So in terms of roster construction and doing your job, the 90s.
You said today had more specialists, but now, okay, never mind.
All right, who you got, Morris?
Bimbo Coles, Andrew Lang, Brent Price,
Bo Kimball.
David Benoit. Don't stop there, Morris. Keep going. David Benoit. Keep going. Paul Pressey.
Today clears.
Right.
It's
Anthony Mason, Antonio Davis.
Paul Pressey's more 80s than 90s anyway. But yeah, Clears. Today's game clears. Some of the people I've seen on a basketball court in the 90s. Oh my god. Ugh.
All right, Ox, so you got.
I will go. I think it's today's. I like the point that Chill made as far as just complete teams, playing your positions and stuff like that. But today is a more of a positionless style of play. So that's just what it is today. But as far as skill set goes, I think it's easier to see that more like the 9th, 10th man on today's bench is a little more better than the 9th, 10th man on 90s bench. So I'll go with today for sure.
They'd start.
That's cool. That's deep.
All right, next. Damo, you're gonna like this one. Next, between the 90s and the current era, ethicalness. Which era has more ethics to their style of play? Swiper, kick us off.
Ethics? Let's see. Who had more ethics? Jordan being suspended for a year and a half for gambling, or let's say this.
He retired. He did not get suspended. He quit.
Definitely.
More ethical. I mean, there's one of the greatest players of all time in the 90s, was one of the least ethical people in the sport. This was why we never bring up his name. I think I'll probably go with now. Probably current, most ethical.
For the record, I think Michael Jordan was a ton of incredible ethical baskets. He was noticeably better than everyone in the 90s. Hakeem, I think, were noticeably better than everyone in the 90s, what they're able to do. I will say that about Jordan. But yeah, today I just think the tough shot making is at an all-time peak today. I think what they do today, the step back threes, turnarounds, over guys, it's just amazing today. Give me the tough shot making today. But the Jordan thing, Damo, that's crazy. Ethical buckets, it's today. We're talking smart basketball, tough shot making. It's today. Ethical buckets.
Damo, you up, brother? Damo, you up, brother?
First of all, I might need to just actually write out the definition of ethical buckets, because what Jalen just said wasn't even like, you're talking about a whole different thing. That's like ethics.
Is that even close to what you talking about, Damo?
No, it's not. It's not. But this should have been a sweep for the 90s. I'm not gonna lie. The 90s
Sweep for the 90s. Oh my god,
sweep for the 90s. Yes, this is the sweep for the 90s. The 90s was about ethical buckets, my guy. They might have been ugly. It might have been hard to watch. Hell, a lot of them couldn't go left to get the ethical bucket. You let TikTok tell you. But nah, man. Unless you can show me the tape, show me the film of guys out here foul baiting.
You ain't see Reggie Miller. Never mind.
Okay, again, guys.
Show me the film of Kyrie.
They literally invented the kicking rule because of Reggie Miller.
Because again, that's one man. Give me the guys.
You ain't see MJ. You ain't see MJ throwing his arms into people, then crying to the refs. You ain't see it. I mean, I guess.
That's the Jordan rules.
Did he go to David Stern to change the rules?
I'm sorry.
No. MJ had everybody know MJ had his own whistle. Regardless, this should have been a sweep for the 90s, in my opinion.
No, 90s you captain crazy right now. It's cool.
Maz, you earned your trip. Maz, you earned the trip to the free throw line in 1993. You earned the trip to the free throw line in 1995. James Harden did not earn a trip to the free throw line. No, he didn't. That's not true.
The way I've seen people drawing fouls for absolutely nothing.
No, that's not true. That's just not.
All right, chill. So which era are you going with?
The 90s.
90s?
Yes.
Chill has the 90s. Mars. Sounds like you're leaning towards current.
Okay. We could do this from the eye test perspective of anytime you drove to the lane with any sort of adversity, there's a foul being drawn. And basically any time. The amount of times I've seen Reggie Miller kick his leg out, the amount of times I've seen these players crying to the refs because they thought they got touched, unethical. The amount of times I've seen players try to drive and then they act like they got slapped. They're clapping their hands, trying to make it seem like they got hit. Fraudulent.
That's not true.
Cool. Go watch the games. I don't know what to tell you.
Even if I was there, I don't need to watch the games. I was there.
Taking layups and they're clapping their hands to make it sound like there was contact.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't contact. You
and then we got guys
the free throw rate is higher in the 90s than it is today.
They ain't even getting hit. They just screaming, "Hey, foul!"
Were they not at the?
I saw Clyde Drexler baiting foul.
So the free throw rate was higher in the 90s.
Right.
That you got Reggie Miller changing the rules for what he's doing, being unethical.
Was the free throw rate higher because of less threes and more to
Yes.
Is that why?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
1000%.
Okay.
You got people like Charles Barkley backing people down for 20 seconds. Have to change that rule too.
Yep.
So you got
Nah,
Reggie
that's so
Miller,
what does
you
that
got
have to do
Charles
with
Barkley,
you
you
got
got them getting to the free throw line more.
Yeah, what
You
does that
got
have to do with
people
ethical
doing
buckets?
up fakes. You got
That's
people doing
nothing.
all of these stuff. Yeah,
Okay,
the 90s is
imagine
not
that.
ethical. Hoops.
Imagine trying to get a guy off his
Current.
feet and create an advantage as an offensive player being unethical. Imagine that.
Oh, but when players today do it, it's foul baiting. Interesting.
Ox,
Yes.
I need your vote.
Ron,
90s.
I don't take part in ethical conversations. Not in this term of ethics. Nah, I don't believe in this.
A bucket's a bucket. So
I don't believe in foul baiting, but Damo has told me that that's not the correct term of ethics. So I'm gonna sit this one.
Ethics is just
Your definition of ethics.
Apparently,
which
ethics is
generation
just
is more
my
ethical?
ethics is just taking a bunch of free throws. That's
in
what
my
he said.
definition, Ron, then okay, it would be the 90s, obviously, and so easily because, like Chilltown stated, I'm so tired of watching basketball, and every time somebody gets touched, driving to the rim, it's a you know what I'm saying?
I saw that in the 90s too, though. That's the thing. We saw that in the 90s too.
I hate
though.
it. I hate it. No, Jalen,
Jalen,
it's my turn to speak on why I think this is less ethical, and I'm so tired of that, bro. I hate the fact that guys get rewarded for shooting shots with their eyes closed. You know what I'm saying? They just throw it up, like you're not even trying to score. You know what I'm saying? So it's the 90s is far more ethical if we're talking about less trying to foul bait instead of actually shoot the ball. That's what I hate, Jalen. I hate when you're playing basketball and instead of me actually trying to score the ball, I'm doing anything to get a whistle so I can go to the free throw line. Like, why can't you just hoop? Why can't you just go get a bucket? Like, what's wrong with that?
Just playing smart basketball.
That's what you call it. I call it sucker shit. You call it smart basketball. I call it sucker shit. So,
all right, so we got it. Actually, it was a tie. We had a tie. It was three people chose the 90s. 3 people chose the current era. I leaned on the chat to break the tie. The chat chose the 90s as being more ethical. So the 90s wins the ethicalness category.
Sadiq out for the season, by the way.
Huh? Yo, Atlanta's losing everybody. Jalen Johnson.
Sadiq Bey, he said Sengun. Oh my god, my heart dropped.
what happened to
Relax, Mars.
Sadiq Bey out for the season. Tony Pollard to the Titans, by the way.
That's because they're gonna lose Derrick Henry. That's why.
Derrick Henry for Tony Pollard. That's the L.
Yeah, they're gonna lose him. So
DeAndre Swift to the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields top 4 rounds fantasy football next year.
Justin Fields ain't gonna be there, but that's a category for gridiron, which actually, I mean, press box, which comes on after this. You guys make sure to tap in the press box. They're gonna get into all the good free agent signings and all of that good stuff. But our next category is which generation has the better champions? Which championship teams are better? 90s versus current era.
This is sweet, bro.
It's gonna start with you, Swiper. Who you got?
Are we starting with now from 2000 on, or like or 2000?
The last 10 years. The last 10 years. Yep, 14.
So you start with the Spurs, Warriors, Cavs, Warriors, Raptors, Lakers, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets.
The worst. I'm not gonna hold you. The only team that I think would not beat. Well, I would say the Chicago Bulls team could beat every. I think the teams that I know Chicago will beat with the 2022 Warriors, the 2014-15 Warriors, and then maybe the 21 Bucks. But outside of that, unless I'm tripping.
We're not 2014 Spurs?
Saying that the
big tripping.
Those 3 teams.
Yes, you are tripping. The Bulls beat the 19 Raptors too. Yes, they beat them.
Hold up now. Hold up.
Yes, they beat
Raptors are 5 and 6. Kawhi
fellas, we gotta get through this.
Hey man,
We gotta get through this.
They beat last year's Nuggets too.
That's a debate for another day.
Imagine
I need your choice.
Trying to check your.
Imagine.
I need your choice.
I'm about to answer the question.
Go ahead.
Imagine Rodman and Jordan in the Jamal Murray Jokic pick and roll, bro. Cooked up 1.4 points per possession. Probably, I'm taking these champions.
All right, current era. Swiper's going with the current era. Jalen, it's on you. Champions. Which era?
Let's talk about it. The Durant Warriors are beating the Bulls in 5. The Bulls will be lucky to get 1 game on the Durant Warriors. Yeah, Durant Warriors.
They sweep them, Mars?
They 100%.
I think the Bulls. I think MJ's known for quitting. He quit halfway through the series.
So that's crazy. That's crazy. MJ go get his. I just think that Warriors team is just so much better. Jokic is a demigod in the 90s. If you're gonna have Dennis Rodman try to guard him, Luke Longley gonna try to guard him, who's guarding Jokic? Nobody. Jokic is destroying them 100%. And then you have, I mean, if you want to include the 2014 Spurs, if we're including that, I think that Spurs team beats those Bulls. I think the Raptors team, Kawhi Leonard, Michael Jordan, look, Michael Jordan might have an edge. And every other position, that Raptors team was a much more well-balanced team than those Bulls team. I think the Raptors team beats them. Yeah, it's champions of the last 10 years are far greater than the champions of the 90s. Better teams, better players all around.
All right, Damo, what you going with?
Yeah, this current era should sweep. I don't even think I need to sit here and give a soliloquy on why we should sweep. We done with the 90s. Big trash. That's how.
All right, Chill Town.
I would have to go with this era, but that's because the all-time great teams from yesteryear. I mean, they weren't like as good as the Blazers were. They weren't an all-time great team. That Phoenix Suns team the Bulls beat, they weren't an all-time.
It's just champions, Chill. It's not.
Even if we're talking about champions, I think that Houston Rockets team could beat that Toronto team, that back-to-back championship team. I think that they could beat that Toronto team. I think the Bulls would have a real difficult time dealing with that 13 with that Spurs team. I think they'd have a difficult time dealing with them dudes. Yeah, a real difficult time dealing with them. With Tim Duncan, even though he was over at that point, but I'm gonna go with this era.
The 2020 Lakers are sweeping the decade. Just saying.
Mars, who you got?
That 2020 Lakers team is
the
not
best championship team of the 90s loses to the worst championship team of the last 10 years.
22 Warriors.
Ew, that's crazy.
Think about that.
That's a little crazy. That's a little crazy. I'm not with you there.
Of course, he's nuts. and for the record, Mars,
maybe 6 games. Maybe
I want to put it out there, Mars. The 72 and 10 Bulls. I don't think that was the best championship team. I don't. To be honest,
I just say whoever you think the best championship team.
I think that
whoever you think the worst championship team of the.
I think that 92 team beats that 2022 team. 100%. I believe that. I believe that 97 team
losing
beats
5
that
games.
2022 team. No doubt about it. I believe
they're losing 4 games.
I think that
Big
Houston
Ox
Rockets
Rob.
team in 93,
It's on you.
I think they beat that 2022 team.
First of all, Ron Harper, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc,
Dennis Rodman,
they beating the brakes off them because them teams y'all talking about. Hakeem Olajuwon and his Rockets. I like them against Denver. I'm gonna
5 on that team.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with
Kenny Smith at the 1, Vernon Maxwell at the 2, Robert Horry at the 3, Otis Thorpe at the 4.
Laughing at Vernon Maxwell and Kenny Smith is crazy.
I will say that Hakeem thing,
but that's okay. So, like that's insane.
If you told me Ron Harper was on that team, maybe, but Kenny Smith gets booked.
But okay, so anyways, just to finish my joint, and also, that's the 99 Spurs too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, give me 90s.
Personally, I got the Utah Jazz sweeping, but that's a story for a whole nother day.
I know you don't believe that.
Hey, y'all talking about two-man game. We talking about two-man game. I'm just saying.
Ron, how much better is John Stockton than Kirk Heinrich, honestly?
That be disrespectful.
See, Ron?
Yeah.
Why we had to do this?
Are we just gonna act like John Stockton is just better than Peyton Pritchard? I'm just gonna act like that.
I'm just saying.
Yes, we're gonna act like that. Mars.
John Stockton.
Right,
2020 Rondo. I don't like. What do we?
I mean, wait. That's Rondo though. That's Rondo. I mean, 2020 Rondo.
That's 39-year-old Rondo, buddy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now you being crazy.
Whatever
It
version
was
of John
36-year-old Stockton.
I don't.
Oh, was that 36-year-old?
I don't condone.
It was old man, washed up, terrible John Stockton. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
He was the Peyton Pritchard. I'm Peyton Pritchard didn't even start.
Big PP.
So John Stockton is TJ McConnell in today's game. That's what I'm understanding.
No. Don't disrespect him like that. John Stockton right now I'm honestly, John Stockton will probably be
one of the best point guards in the game today.
Isn't his son in the G League?
Colin Gillette's a two-way player for the Denver Nuggets, probably.
Isn't John Stockton's son in the G League, leading the G League in like all-time assists?
Yes.
John Stockton will be battling him for that assist title. That's what he would do.
I'm not gonna say G League. I think he's on the roster. I'm not gonna say he's on the roster.
Wait, chill. Hold on. John Stockton wouldn't be in the league. He would have had a 2-year absence because he wouldn't have wanted to get the.
He wouldn't have got the vaccine. Yeah,
he would have wanted to get the vaccine to play in 2020.
That's facts, though.
Fellas, we got to keep it lit. We got to keep it pushing. The next category I got for you guys, 90s versus current era, is storylines.
Story.
Which
your
era
poll is
had the
terrible.
better storyline?
Your poll says which era had the better storylines? Yes or no?
El
Yes,
Poe,
winning.
El Poe.
Yes is winning. Just so anyone knows. Yes is
All
winning.
right,
Better
cool.
storyline.
I'm glad we all believe that it had better storylines. But I'm gonna put another poll up for you guys. But Swiper, it's on you first.
For which one?
Storylines.
90s versus current era.
Storyline.
Yeah.
This is my last answer for today. Who has the better storyline? I mean, I think the 90s, just because anybody coming from a 2-year absence from basketball, returning and winning a championship, Hakeem punching it through, Malone and them never getting a wing, rightly so. And now, 25 years later, we're all thankful for that. And then the 1990s, Clyde Drexler. Yeah, I mean, it's probably the 90s, just because, like, I mean, again, no troll, but you're born in 97, but you probably had access to like the His Airness tapes and all that stuff in the 2000s. I mean, that, I don't know, bro. There was something in the air about MJ and them. That whole 90s run was pretty special, personally. That's just me, though. That was my whole childhood growing up, so I probably would say the 90s storyline.
I ain't watched that. I ain't never seen that shit in my life.
Hey, shout out MJ Aura. I do think MJ Aura is crazy, probably the craziest aura for an athlete. That's for different reasons. But in terms of storylines, we talking that the 2015 Golden State Warriors, can a jump shooting team win an NBA championship? Can LeBron James carry Matthew Dellavedova, Tristan Thompson to a championship? That's a storyline. We talking 2016, down 3-1, greatest comeback ever, road to the greatest player of all time storyline. Can Kawhi Leonard bring the Toronto Raptors the first championship in another country storyline? We talk, could Steph Curry, is he washed? Are the Warriors done? Win it again storyline. Easy.
There's more storylines than just the
Way more, but keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, way more.
storylines go beyond just the champions.
I know,
That's
true.
But Jalen, the storyline in the middle of the 1990s was that the first African-born player won an MVP and also won back-to-back titles. So
you know what? I said the racial storyline go crazy. I might give that to the 60s though. That storyline in the 60s go crazy.
Civil rights.
Yeah, civil rights. That storyline go crazy. It's the 60s. But I'm going this era storyline. I think there's so many players, especially player movement. Like, can James Harden get it done? Can Kevin Durant win without Steph? There's just so many storylines. I think with all the player movement going around too. Give me the storyline in today's era over the.
So before you go, Swiper, I just want you to. This is where we are today. What's today? Today is it's March of 2024. I want you to fast forward the clock. It's October, right? It's October. And it's 2024. The Milwaukee Bucks was just in the NBA championship and they lost, by the way, right? They was just in the NBA championship this year and they lost. And it's 2024, and it's a week before the season is about to start. Giannis gets on television. He said he can't play basketball no more. He's got to quit.
Mm-hmm.
Like Magic, you talking about the Magic storyline?
Giannis gets on television and says, I can't play in the NBA anymore because I'm sick and I'm going to die.
That was terrible. Yeah.
I can't do that.
That changed everything.
And what I want you to do is I want you to fast forward the clock 2 more years after that. Jokic says, I quit. I don't want to play no more.
Right.
I'm done. I'm out.
He might do that.
I can see that.
Yeah, he might do that. He really might do that.
Jokic quits. He says he's out. The very next year after that, let's see here. Who's the best lead guard in the game? Luka tears his ACL. Luka tears his Achilles, and he's out. Luka's done. He don't want to play no more. The very next year. Then 2 years after that, Hakeem Olajuwon, African-born player, wins the league MVP and the finals MVP in back-to-back seasons. Then the year after that,
Victor Wembanyama.
in the words of Damo, the ball-headed menace decides to come back to basketball. He comes back. Then the year after that, the Chicago Bulls, the best record in NBA history, and win the NBA championship. We don't talk about storylines.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was a terrible time, man.
Yeah, children's cooked. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a good point.
Children cook.
All right, Swiper.
Merry Christmas.
All right, Swiper.
I never told none of y'all about this, but at that time, we didn't know about any of that. I was convinced that shit was going to kill all of us. When Magic came on, when he came on TV and told us that I was convinced as a freshman in college, I'm like, this shit is going to kill every last one of us.
Right.
I was convinced.
My uncle was actually, I got an uncle that did pass away from complications due to the virus. You know what I'm saying? But my other uncle was telling me about that. Like, that shit was super scary. Like, nobody knew anything about it. And it was, they didn't know how
all we knew about it. All we knew about it is if you get it, you're gonna die. That's it. That's all we knew. Nothing else. I was convinced. This shit.
My uncle that
Magic
passed away
Johnson.
from him, he
Magic
had it
Johnson.
for a long time before he did pass away from it. But like even when I was younger, you know what I'm saying? Like in the 90s, like 96, 97, my mom, you know, they still did were a little uneducated about it. She used to tell us, you know, like, you know, don't be rude, don't be disrespectful. At the same time, don't be making too much contact. You know what I'm saying? Like with your uncle, you know what I'm saying?
We had a virus shut down the league, though. We had a virus that
Hold
shut down the league.
on, Jay, stop.
Okay, I'm saying. Go ahead.
Damo be wanting to break news. He be
Now chill. Now rewind. Imagine. Magic Johnson sits at that podium, tells everybody, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's this virus out here. And as he's getting up from the podium, I don't want it to spread. And start touching off the microphone and touching everything. And then he just walks off the stage. And then the next morning, the league got to shut down because everybody got the virus now. Crazy storyline. That's the story. Now let me stop playing. I'm sorry. I had to bring it like, y'all was getting a little too real. I had to bring the light. Look, I'm gonna go with current era for storylines, and I'm gonna go with the simple fact of the impact of social media allowing fans and allowing outside components to dictate, create, and manipulate storylines. We can legit go on social media right now. We can see a story. Literally, we can see Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant talking at the All-Star break, and someone quote tweets it. They talk about teaming up and going somewhere. And then that summer, that actually comes true. And now we have a new storyline to go to. See, back in the 90s, all you could do was rely on the guy that was on the radio, the guys on TV, the talking heads, the sports writers. Those guys dictated what the storylines were. And you was a fan, you just sat there and you talked in the barbershops. Y'all could go up, y'all could come up with whatever you wanted to come up with. But at the end of the day, it's word to mouth, and you're going based off of what they say. Nowadays, we can sit up here, I can call Darvin Ham a terrorist and build a storyline off of it, and everyone else sees what I see. We pick it up, and now it's actually a storyline. How the hell is Darvin Ham actually a terrorist? They're talking about it on SportsCenter the next day, or on First Take, or First Things First, whatever it is. I'm going with today. The fan has the ability to actually impact storylines, create storylines, add on to storylines.
Stop biting our style, too, by the way. We know y'all out there biting our style. Stop biting our style. Get your own style. Stop biting our style. Don't think we don't see y'all.
You whacking cities.
I heard what you said, that you bit Damo. I heard when Mars says something, you bite him. I heard what you said when you bite off me. Stop biting our style. Get your own style.
Damo, you and Jalen really convinced me, like really brought to light a lot of the storylines. And it damn near is lightweight. But today's storylines are crazy when you really think about all the stuff that's happened. But when I remember, because I don't remember Jay leaving. I don't remember Jay leaving, but I remember Jay coming back. And that was just, you know what I'm saying? Like that. Imagine the best player in the sport really leaving. Like I know now as I got older, I realized why he left. I didn't know he was getting the boot, you know what I'm saying? Until I realized, oh, this dude was a degenerate, you know what I'm saying? So when I start finding that out, that just makes it even more. But I would be completely biased and living through nostalgia if I didn't say today's storyline's clear. It's crazy the way that like how you said, I didn't even think about that, Damo. The impact of social media, you got it. And then COVID shutting down the whole everything, like that was big in the league. And then they making the bubble coming back. That's crazy. And then Lou Will in the strip club, leaving the bubble, going to get wings. Come on,
lemon pepper Lou.
Hey, you can't beat this. Hey, this is better than Days of Our Lives in General Hospital put together. I'm gonna tell you.
Let's not talk about Kevin Durant betraying his best friend. And I'm just going by media standpoint, betraying his best friend. They're going to play with the enemy. And then we have the year of now I do what I want. And then Russell Westbrook goes to average a triple-double and gets the fucking MVP.
That's crazy work. Come on.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Come on. And then Westbrook going to the Lakers, turning into West Brick. That was love. That was beautiful for the league. Damn. Draymond and Russ getting everybody kicked out the arenas for damn near nothing. This shit is beautiful. I love the storyline. The drama of today is second to none. This is as the world turns in real life.
All right, Chill. Who you got? I know it sounds like you was leaning towards the 90s, but you didn't officially say it.
My original point. I don't think you guys understand the impact on that. Like Damo brought up a really good point, but I don't think you guys dig it. And the fact that Jordan retiring in '98 for the second time, and now we're gonna get a new champion in the league. And I mean, the impact of social media. Don't get me wrong. I feel like the impact of social media really pushed whatever is going on. It pushed it to the forefront because all we had back then was SportsCenter and newspapers. Like we didn't have nearly as much as what we have today. And on top of that, we didn't have it like that. Like I had to wait till tomorrow to find out about whatever was going on. Like I can find out right now what's going on with whomever is there. So, I mean, the storylines, I think the storylines were there. I'm going to stick with the 90s though.
Yeah. All right, Mars.
Domo made the point I was going to make with social media. So ultimately, yeah, I am going to go with the last 10 years, social media, free agency, just more player movement. But the OJ car chase being televised during the NBA Finals.
Big moment.
Shut it down, Mars.
That's a big moment.
Shut it down. Like we trying to watch the NBA Finals, and they cut in the middle of the NBA Finals. OJ is on the run.
We ain't have that. We ain't have that in this NBA.
I never knew. Yeah. I never knew that happened like mid-finals. I didn't know.
Damo.
It was like game 4 of the '94 Finals.
We watching the NBA Finals. So this Finals that just
and the NBA Finals is on the small screen.
Yes.
Like,
OJ
screen,
is on the free
small NBA Finals. OJ car chase big screen. That's what it was.
Game 4, Miami was playing. Miami is playing against Denver, and in the middle,
that's one of the most watched televised events ever.
They cut into I don't know who is that guy. Imagine Emmitt Smith is on the run.
That's a pretty big.
Yes, Emmitt Smith is on the run.
I don't know who Emmitt Smith is, but that's a pretty big storyline right now.
We watching the finals this year, and then all of a sudden it just cuts. Antonio Brown is on the run. Like what?
On the run.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
AP is on the run.
That's carrying the 90s right now. Plus Magic leaving. Then he comes back. He comes back in '96, but he won All-Star Game MVP in '92. Like that was like a big moment. He's there.
Don't forget about the Dream Team too.
Y'all forget about the Dream Team. Forgot about that too. Yeah.
What? So like all of that. Yeah, the 90s had some tough storylines, but overall, I do think social media is what carries the 2010s. Just the ability for anyone to make a storyline and run with it. I don't think the 90s had that ability. So I'll still go with like the last 10 years, but the 90s had some.
So would it be would it be the storyline or just the ability to get the story out?
There was a lot of more stories now. But there's more stories. Yeah. But maybe there's not more stories, but we're aware of more stories.
Yeah, there's more known stories.
It's like it's your ability to get the story out because there was a lot going on back then. I mean, don't forget one of the main reasons why people was talking about Jordan retiring is because his father was killed, even though that wasn't true. But the storyline was we just got from the paper that his father got killed by gangsters. Imagine if we had social media and we had instant access. What the storylines would have been.
That would have been crazy.
I can imagine.
Right.
Say, so many storylines happen, and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing when it comes to social media because so many storylines.
Right. The storylines would have been crazy. Absolutely incredible.
Could you imagine a video of Michael Jordan at a casino at 3 a.m. before like the finals game?
You bet.
Okay. Those pictures would be crazy, John.
We just didn't even speak on Dennis Rodman.
Oh, he'd be crazy.
Oh my God, he was a storyline. That's insane.
We didn't speak on Dennis Rodman.
Hey, Chill. So what was that? What's the equivalent back then, Chilltown? Like in the 90s, what's the equivalent of this year's storylines with Ja Wick and the Zion? Like,
okay, you know so imagine like what you saw from Draymond, like when him jumping on Rudy Gobert. Imagine seeing Draymond fall into the front row and kicking the cameraman in the balls.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Imagine him doing that. Imagine that happening, and the cameraman like that's going on, and it's something crazy every day with Dennis Rodman, right? Him headbutting officials, him getting thrown out of games, him taking his shirt off while he's getting thrown out and throwing it in the crowd. Imagine if we had imagine if Twitter was going on back then, or Instagram or Snapchat going on back then. What that would look like today. Like we had a dude running around coloring his hair. But by the way, don't leave out, like Dennis was awesome at his job, though. It wasn't like Dennis was just a clown. He was leading the league in rebounding. He was an all-league defender.
Chill, imagine, and this is after the Dream Team did their thing. Imagine, the U.S. wins, and then some great track athlete goes on a podium during his interview and just says, This Dream Team, the Dream Team, what are they world champions of? Not the world. What? Last time I checked,
he wasn't talking about the
Last time I
Olympics
checked-
team, Damo.
You're
He was
talking about
talking
NBA
about the
champions.
Nuggets.
last time I checked, he was. Damn, I fucked it up.
Yeah. It's talking about the NBA champions.
All right, so we
I
got to
was
keep it
still with
pushing.
you.
We
I was
got
still with you.
we got a few more
Damn, I
categories.
watched it. Damn.
Few more categories. We was following you, Domino. We know where you're going with it.
Man.
But better brand of basketball, which era? The 90s or the current era? Swiper is gone, so Jalen, we're gonna start with you. Better brand of basketball.
Yeah, we talked about before. I think today the players are just more skilled, more variety of ways to score. I think. Give me today's brand of basketball.
I feel like the game is in a better place today. The brand. I could go without, the All-Star game, the way it's been played, but I feel like the brand of basketball and how guys play. Yeah.
Current chill?
Yes.
Damo?
The game evolves. Yes, it does.
Everything in me wants to say current, but I'm a slave to what I grew up with and the type of ball I grew up playing. I prefer, in terms of just the way the game is played, I prefer the 90s game, man. I that's what I prefer. I grew
up merchant. Oh,
I am a post-up merchant. I grew up with post work. I grew up watching post players. I grew up in the post.
Mm-hmm.
I would be lying if I sat here and said I prefer today's game where they negate the legit play style I had and what I loved about the game. They negate that. It's prehistoric now. I'd be lying if I said I didn't prefer 90s stuff.
Right.
Mars.
Offense is more advanced. Defense is more advanced. The players are more advanced. Coaching is more advanced. Current clears.
It's obvious. It's easy in the 90s. Everything that I grew up watching, loving, and trying to emulate is what they're trying to push out of the NBA, and I can't stand it. You know what I'm saying? The guys, the footwork of Hakeem Olajuwon is one of the first things I fell in love with in basketball. And like Mars Cardamo, a post-up merchant. I am most definitely a block merchant. You know what I'm saying? And
Ron, how can I be in love with the big man and dig the game today? I'm tripping. The 90s. I'm a big man. I'm a big man guy. The 90s is the game. What am I talking about?
That's it. That's all there is
right now.
When you said today's chill, I couldn't believe it.
I'm like, wait a minute. What am I thinking? Hold on. Don't get me wrong. I dig the game today. I do. I dig Steph Curry. I dig James. I dig Giannis. But I'm a big man guy. I love the big man. It's the 90s. 100%. I love the big man.
Fellas, so with that being said,
I'm tripping.
It's 3 people up here that chose the 90s. Swiper is gone, so his vote has now rolled over to the chat. And the chat has chosen the current era, which makes it tied 3-3.
By a convincing margin, too. The chat loves
and so with that being said, it's left to me to break the tiebreaker.
No.
And the thing about it is, if we talk about brand of basketball,
the Knights have the Sonics. He's gonna pick the Sonics.
We talking about an era that really played defense, an era that really competed, an era that it was a post game, an era where it wasn't no load managing, an era where the superstars played, an era where it was competitive through and through, an era where we're not blowing out teams by 40 points, an era where we're not just shot chucking. Erica is just more ethical. Erica's just more ethical. I'm gonna go with the 90s.
Good choice, bro. But we can still recognize, Mars, players have advanced. Game is advanced. Coaching has advanced. Style of play is advanced. Offense is advanced. Defense is advanced. I can recognize that. But I'm a big man. I'm a big man merchant. 100% I am.
I wish we could dive into more of the coaching philosophies and coaching strategies of those days as opposed to these days. And I'm not talking about just like right now, Ron, like in a voting stance. I'm more, like how we can really watch the game. I wish there was a way that we can really watch the coaching. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that would look like, but I'm really interested in that because I know
exactly what that would look
like. Think about this, Big Ox. Think about how the big man was used back then. The big man ran straight to the box. That's what he did. And that was the way the offense was ran. We ran the offense through him. Whatever action ran off the big man, it was ran in that area. It wasn't really a lot of spacing. It wasn't really a lot of other action. Well, now we use the big man in a different way, where a coach now sees a mismatch because of the amount of switching that's going on in the NBA, where Joel Embiid might have a switch. Well, he's now Joel Embiid, instead of running straight to the box, he runs to the free throw line. And now I got your small forward who's got a smaller guy on him, flash to the middle of the post, stuff like that. That's coaching.
Yeah, I dig that, Chill. Now I can see that, but I want to see more so where we have the conversations. I know me and Damo have had a couple of conversations. I can't think of any specifically, but where we've talked about, oh, well, this is going on. It's coaching. And I think it was more so the Darvin Ham, right? Yeah, I think we was talking about Darvin Ham, and it was like, oh, and I'm trying to figure out, do we know what's going on? Are these guys running these sets because this is what Brian and AD want to run? Is Darvin calling this? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? I'm talking about, I want to see the whole war room. I want to see the coaching strategies pregame. When they're in their room, when it's just the coaches talking, and they're like, okay, well, I need to see this, I want to do this. Hey, make sure that these guys are taking care of this part, delegating to assistants and stuff. I want to see that. I'm really into that. I wish we could see that like we see the basketball game. You know what I mean? And then even on the bench cameras, how they got different angles. Man, let me get an angle from the bench. Let me see the coaches, interacting with the players and this and that. I want to see more of that, not just that timeouts though, too. I'm talking about during mid-game. I'll probably watch that more than watching the actual game.
They need to offer that on League Pass. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff they can put on League Pass to justify paying all that damn money.
Facts.
All right, y'all. The next category is which era, the 90s or the current era, is more skilled?
Easy work. Come on now. This is a question that I think a 5-year-old could answer. We talking skills. It's today's era. We're talking the handle, jump shot. I don't know if there's any skill set the 90s had that was better than today. And again, evolution. They've learned from the guys in the 90s, so we understand why they're more skilled today. It's clearly today.
Definitely today. And the big man has benefited from that the most, to be quite honest with you, in terms of the skill set. Because now you got guys like Joker, Embiid, Giannis, big guys like Cat being able to do stuff that 6'2", 6'3" guys have. So the skill set is definitely advanced today than what it did back then.
Damo?
Yeah, this era should clear. We're talking about the era where they couldn't go left. Y'all see the film on TikTok? They couldn't go left. They refused to go left. And even when they go left, they're going left with their right hand. It's insane.
Mars?
I don't even need to throw this one here. Current class. Michael Cliffs.
Big Ox Bob.
Man, if we were talking about today versus the 60s or 70s, it would be obvious. But since we're talking about today versus the 90s, I'm going to have to say what y'all are scared to say. And it's the 90s for sure.
It's crazy.
For sure. But let me tell you why. Because a lot of times we attribute the ability to just go between the legs, a lot of flash.
Hesitating.
Yeah, I feel like what the skill is supposed to be is just my ability. It's my ability to handle the ball, my ability to not let the other guy take the ball from me. So I don't have to do a whole bunch of pretty stuff to avoid that. As long as I got it simple, if I can simply protect the ball, I got a crossover, I can go this way, I can go behind the back, I got the basic package. My skill set is up to par. Now, where we're losing skill in today is on the block, like we talked about. We don't have too many guys nowadays that can open up in the short, in the mid post, face up, go either way, either hand, and spin back to the other hand, jump hook both hands. Guys, we don't have too many of that. So that's why I'm saying at those times we had a wider range of skill. Now, nowadays, this skill might be more unique, if you will, but the range has shrunk. Whereas in those days, you had guys that can do more things. I had guys that can work on the block as well as the outside. Chilltown's talking about big guys being able to do things that guards could do then. Okay, that's cool, but we already had guys that could do that. Now we don't got nobody that can do anything on the block. So for those reasons, I feel like the range has shrunk.
Yo, basketball nowadays is more skilled in the mid and on the block. You have two different levels where basketball is more skilled at. Out now from 3-point line and beyond, okay, this era clears. No doubt about it. But basketball on two different levels back then was much more skilled, much more technical. And even defensively, too, I'll say the same thing. At two different levels, basketball was much more skilled defensively. We're not talking about defensive skills. That's also a skill as well. On top of that, Moving without the ball back then. Moving without the ball clears.
What defensive skill? What defensive skill do you have?
Well, Ron, you spin right now.
You guys just equate skill with having the ball too. Moving without the ball back then clears from everything. Setting screens, coming off screens, back cutting, all of that stuff. Like they actually were skilled.
Up right there.
Ain't nobody better than Steph Curry coming off the screens.
Okay, come on.
Reggie would be that version, Jalen. But you're right. You're right.
Grayson Allen's amazing at that too.
Oh, even still, but you just made a point. You just made a point. You just asked the question, Jalen. So just so you know, I have to learn how to curl screens as a defender. I have to know how to go over the top of a screen as opposed to curling a screen. I have to know what side, what foot to when I'm in a defensive position. I have to know what foot to put forward. I have to know whether to just get down. I have to know which hand to close out on. Not only do I have to know how to close out, these are defensive skills that I have to know that a lot of these guys today do not know. That's why you see them so deficient on defense.
Don't you think it's harder today to defend a guy?
That part I won't argue. That part I won't argue.
Don't you think it's harder today to defend a guy coming off the screen because of their ability to shoot or attack? While players in the 90s, you're more likely to face someone where you know there's deficiency in one of those aspects, where today they can do both.
I don't think that that's a skill level more than it is the way that the offense is designed. I think that the way that the offense is designed, it's harder to guard guys coming off screens because guys can shoot the long ball just like they could shoot the long ball back then. But the way the offense is designed, where you coming off double screens, where you coming off pins down and slipping screens, I think that the offense is designed a little bit different now. So they got more packages. So because they have more packages, it's a lot harder to guard guys, not just because of the skill level.
I think y'all are so goddamn disingenuous in this conversation because y'all are literally saying, y'all are basically the things y'all talking about are more so catered to players of the last 3 years when the conversation for current era is the last 10 years. So if I go back to 2014 and I start naming these guys that actually have post work, then what happens? If we
but it doesn't clear the 90s though. It doesn't. Matter of fact, it pales in comparison. No. The 2010 is actually a big man.
All you got is old Tim Duncan.
That's fine. We're gonna cut me off.
Oh, now we're not respecting Al Jefferson.
Okay. I'm not saying now we don't respect Al Jefferson. We don't respect
last week it was respect Al Jefferson.
We can respect Al Jefferson and still know he doesn't hold a candle to those guys in the 90s.
What are we talking about?
I can name 15 post players easily that clear Al Jefferson.
You're gonna end up naming, and you're gonna end up one of them is gonna be MJ.
Stay out of this.
One of them is gonna be MJ.
No. I'm talking about big.
All right, go ahead.
The 90s still clears, and you can.
Ron said he can name 15.
Name them. Name 15. Name them.
We here for it.
We got Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yep. 1.
Alonzo Mourning.
2.
David Robinson.
2.
Alonzo Mourning post work. All right.
Patrick Ewing.
3.
Rick Smits.
For sure.
4.
Charles Barkley.
Okay.
Did I say Carmelo?
You just did.
6.
Tim Duncan played in the 90s. That's 8.
3 years. Yep.
Did you say David Robinson?
I said David Robinson.
He did.
We got 2 years of Tim Duncan. Yep.
I'm 100% confident KG played in the 90s too.
Kevin Garnett.
Hey, I want
95 to 2000 KG post work. Yep.
Give me Bill
Shaq.
Cartwright.
Shaq. Yep.
Diesel.
Let me get Vlade Divac.
Good forward.
Who else we got?
That's 10.
10, I guess.
No, we can for sure dig up 5 more. We can for sure dig up 5 more.
We don't got to do anything. You can dig up 5 more. You said 15.
Give me Brad Doherty. Matter of fact, give me Dikembe Mutombo.
Now we reaching.
Compared to Al Jefferson. Again, we're comparing this to Al Jefferson.
Al Jeff was nice. Did I say Hakeem? I ain't say Hakeem.
Hakeem was the first person you said.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Don't forget Arvidas too. Don't forget Arvidas too.
Yep, Arvidas.
Did he even play?
Yes.
He did? Okay. Yeah. I know. I thought he came over like right at 2000. I don't know why.
Like 96 he showed up.
Okay.
Like 96, something like that. So
I don't know why.
That's not
Horace Grant.
2004. Compared to Al Jefferson.
Al Jefferson, he's not better than Al Jefferson. He's not better than Al Jefferson.
Horace was nice though.
No
Horace
one
was
said
nice
he
on the
wasn't
block.
nice. He
cool,
wasn't
yeah, but not
nicer than Al Jefferson.
Not on the box, he wasn't.
On the foot, where you at?
Not on the box, he wasn't. Not better than. Not better
79-year-old
than.
Sabonis. Are we serious?
All right, well, y'all
Ron,
got
I get 10. I'll give you, Ron. Those 10, I'll give you 100%. I'll give you.
I wouldn't even give you all the 10, but I just
I'll give you like a solid 8.
All right.
Now,
Anyway.
if I open this conversation up to if I went from Big Al to LaMarcus Aldridge, how many we naming?
Not as much. Not
Brad
as
Daugherty
much.
comes off that list because LaMarcus Aldridge was better than Brad Daugherty on the box.
And again, I'm not
Yes, he
trying to
was.
say that that current era just
Yes.
has better post work, but if we're gonna act like the gap is so astronomical,
No,
we're gonna
Damo,
ignore-
the gap is crazy.
Hold on. If we're gonna act like the gap, because you have 79 people who were made to work on the block compared to today, where you still had in the last 10 years, where you still had competent players, elite players, good players, great players, boatloads of players who can still play on the block. And we're introducing bigs like Big Jelly, and we're introducing bigs like Wemby, and we're introducing all these other styles of bigs while these other guys are still there. Are we serious right now? That's
Hold on.
That's
I knew I was tripping. I knew I was tripping.
Like the top.
Yeah, we're not arguing against
No,
that.
I know you're not. What I'm saying is the top 4 are so far elite, as opposed to to the bigs that you brought up. That the top 4 in the 90s they're not even in the same hemisphere.
Wait,
Respect Chris Webber and Larry Johnson too.
We are not about to sit here and say the
Webb.
gap in
Okay.
post work is going to
Sean
it's
Kemp.
going to make up the difference in the overall skill of the game.
I said
between
2
then and
levels
now.
though, Damo. It's 2 levels. It's not weak because we can get into the mid range too.
Damo, Sean Kemp was better on the box than Al Jefferson.
And that's 3 more people. See, I knew I was forgetting.
I don't know.
I was
Sean
forgetting
Kemp
3
don't have
people.
footwork.
Sean Kemp was better.
But we're talking about the quality of post work throughout the league, and now so if we talk about the quality of shooting throughout the league, and I just say, oh well, we got Steph Curry. Steph Curry's better. Like it's from top.
But
to
they
bottom.
had 5.
No, Mars. That wasn't the question.
what?
We're talking about the league and who was more skilled in what regard. It can't just
Damo,
be the
listen.
top 5 in that regard. Like,
Ron-
if it was just Hakeem, David Robinson, Shaq, and Ewing, right? Because they're like probably the top 4. Charles Barkley, number 32, whatever.
Malone.
Those guys, if everyone else, I'm not saying they are, if everyone else after that was just incompetent in the post, that wouldn't mean much, right? Because we're talking about the league from top to bottom. So just bringing up the top guys isn't much. When you get past the 11, 12 names, it's really mid.
Well, here's the difference.
Sorry,
though.
we're not here
Which
for
is
Bill
fair.
Wilson post up.
Which is fair, Mars. But we're bringing up those guys because that's what Al Jefferson was during that time. Al Jefferson was the elite of the big men. It wasn't like Al Jefferson.
Ron,
He was
you
one of the
forgot
better
Chris Webber.
players.
You forgot
Oh,
Chris
that's
Webber.
because-
No, I said Chris Webber. I double back and said Chris Webber and Larry Johnson.
Al Gasol, Mark Gasol,
So let me ask you this, Mars.
Greg
Before you go any
Monroe,
further, before you go any further,
Jaleel
Marcus Cousins,
Okafor.
how many guys would you put ahead of Al Jefferson during that time as a box player?
in 14. I don't know. I don't have.
I have to actually look, but off the top of my head, I mean,
Is it 10?
LaMarcus, DeMarcus. Am I saying AD in 24? I don't think I'm saying AD in 2014. I feel
I
like that
am.
was too early.
I'll say AD.
That was too early. That was too early.
And there's a
He
bunch
wasn't
of guys
done
who
yet.
could post up and they just got phased out the league because the post up wasn't that like. And it's
Somebody
free.
said Debo.
2014? Not 2014.
2014.
Yeah, but we
kinda,
14 to like we got 14
Yeah,
to
no,
now.
what's
We don't have to just stick with 14. 14 is like Al
We
Jefferson.
was just talking about the 10s.
Well, you
though.
brought up Al Jefferson.
Yeah,
and Ron
yeah, but
said
that's
he-
an
No,
example.
no, we-
But
we
you can
weren't
go through the whole
talking about
2010 the
the
same way
10.
we're going through the whole 90s.
Right.
Ron got players from the start of the 90s and then he went and got Tim Duncan and
Right.
AG who were the end of the
Well,
90s.
you
So
Mars,
the whole last 10 years, you got guys like Al Jefferson, you got guys like Marc Gasol, you got Brook Lopez when he was on the Nets, you
Joel
got
Embiid.
Zebo still around, you
Carlos
got
Boozer.
you got Vucevic, you got the last years of Dirk,
Now,
you got
now,
Greg
mind you,
Monroe,
Now, mind you,
you
Mars,
got- who
the
else-
big
who
guys
else
are
was playing
moving
in the
further
post
away
at
from
that
the
time?
basket. at this
Joel
point.
Embiid,
And
Joel
this is
Embiid
the same
was
bigs.
posting up,
Jokic.
Cat was posting up,
And these are the
Kevin
same
Love was
bigs.
posting up.
Mars, this is the same bigs that you said that night the 2010s was cooked because the big man was getting phased out of the
Not
game.
because they
Not
couldn't
only-
post up, but because
not-
they couldn't do anything else. That was the
not-
problem.
But not only because they couldn't post up. The reason why they couldn't post up was because the game was moving away from the box.
Yes, but they could post up, but the game was
Right.
changing beneath their feet. Greg Monroe could post up, But the league just wasn't requiring Greg Monroe post-ups anymore. You know why? Because now we're trying to space the floor. Analytics. Threes are worth more than twos. Post-ups slow the game down. We're trying to speed it up. It's not because they were incapable of posting up.
If they were that good on the block, if they were that good on the block, the team they would still be in the NBA.
Yeah,
if they were that good, they would still be in the NBA.
First of all,
they would still be in the league, bro.
Even if you believe that, there's a reason why you've got Jokic and Embiid now, because the post-up with the ability to do what guys like Jokic can do and play out of double teams and play out of traps is something that the post game had to evolve to become. Back in the 2010s, when players were kind of a black hole when you gave the ball to someone in the post. So then now you've got other teams who can run high pick and roll, get open threes. It's like, we don't need post-ups. Like, even the best post players, 1 point per possession. We could just get better possessions without the post. That would apply to a lot of different players in the 90s. I'm sorry. The league, if Rick Smits played in 2016, they aren't running Rick Smits post-ups. I don't know what, they're not doing it. That's not a knock to how good he was in the post. It's about how the game has changed. And now we're at a point where you've got guys like Jokic, you've got guys like Embiid, you've got guys like Anthony Davis, you've got guys like Alperen Sengun. They're posting up. The post-up is coming back because what you do now is if you're strong enough in the post to where you force double teams, you're creating good offense. That's why the post-up went through a little down period where there weren't as many post-ups, but it was still very capable post-up bigs. Jahlil Okafor would have been a great big in a different era that required more post-ups. His post work is second to none. You're not about to name 10 bigs who are better on the block than Jahlil Okafor.
Even then though, we can still see what Jahlil Okafor did at his best in the post. And that still pales in comparison to the 90s. And if we drop Jahlil in the 90s, I love Jahlil.
Yeah, not the mids.
Jahlil top 10 in the 90s. He's top 10.
I love Jahlil, but Jahlil gonna be in the 90s, but he's not gonna be one of them ones in the 90s.
He's not gonna be Hakeem, but he's gonna be. After you said Hakeem, David Robinson, Shaq, number 32, Charles Barkley,
KG, Tim.
He better than young KG in the post.
No, he's not, bro.
He is. Yes, he's better than. Hold on, Ron, at Duke.
You didn't watch Jahlil Okafor.
Some of the best.
Jahlil Okafor is better than skinny KG.
I love Jahlil. I love Jahlil. KG makes him retire.
Makes him retire. That in the league though, Jalen. I didn't see it in the league.
The league was changing.
Everything that you
said, he was some of the best in the league though.
He had some of the best footwork in the block in college history.
But Miles, everything
Jahlil Okafor would be top 7.
Mars, everything that you said though, everything that you said, Mars, because these guys, the game was they were getting phased out. It says the same thing about what I was saying about Dale Ellis coming into this era, the kind of shooter that he would be.
Yeah,
Chris Mullin, the kind of shooter that he would be. So everything that I told you that you countered with is the same exact opposite of what you're saying right now.
Well, no, first of all, shooters back in the day, they probably would look better. They just wouldn't look better than the guys we have right now. And I'm not saying Jahlil Okafor would look better than the guys in the 90s, like the Hakeems and them. I'm not saying that, but I am saying his game.
You think he's a top 10? You think he's a top 10 box player in the 90s?
Easy.
In the 90s, you think?
Easy. And I think Reggie Miller would be a top 10 shooter today. But when I'm talking about from top to bottom, I can agree. Yeah, there was more post-ups in the 90s. Sure, I'm not arguing against that.
Right.
But to act like the discrepancy wasn't that there was bad post players in the 2010s. There was actually quite a few good post players. The issue was that post-ups just in general weren't very efficient forms of offense. Even in the 90s, post-ups weren't very efficient forms of offense. It was just you had so many post players that you were going to run it through the post. And I'm not saying they did it wrong. But just generally speaking, now that people figured out the value of a three and figured out the value of playing faster, there wasn't a need for post-ups. That doesn't mean Greg Monroe, Jahlil Okafor, guys whose careers got cut short because the game changed beneath them. That doesn't mean they weren't elite post players. Jahlil Okafor is an elite post player. Did you watch Jahlil?
Ron,
that is no way. There's no way you watch Jahlil Okafor.
Ron, real quick.
Yeah, there's no way.
Jahlil Okafor on the box was money.
No,
chill.
What I'm saying is he had the open pivot. Not only did he have the open pivot, he had the reverse pivot. He had the running hook with the left hand. He had the running hook with the right hand. He had over the left shoulder. He had over the right shoulder. He had the spin move. He had the counter. He had all of that work on the box. Yes,
y'all finna make me get on my man Jahlil, and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
The problem with Jahlil Okafor, number one, I don't think he really loved the game that much. Number two, the game started moving further away from the basket. So his strength of being on the box got taken away because now he's got to change his game. Now he's got to play further away from the block. That's not his game. His game is dumping the ball into him on the box. Why? Because he came up during an era when that was what the big man did. He was 6'10". Now we're talking about today where we got guys who are 6'10" to 7'2". What are they doing? They're tailoring their game by Joel Embiid, by Joker, guys like that who handle the basketball further away from the basket. If them dudes had to play on the box primarily, it would screw them up because that's not their strength. That's the point about Jahlil Okafor. He played on the box to start, and he became elite at it, but he came up in a time when the game got pushed further and further away from the basket, and he didn't have those other strengths. That's the point.
And he couldn't play defense, and he couldn't rebound. So there was like Jahlil Okafor, the player.
He actually could rebound, Moss. He was a 20 and 10 guy in college. That's not true. He could rebound.
And then you watch him in the league, and he just didn't try to get boards.
That's why, and the reason why, Moss, is because I don't think he loved the game like that.
He was lazy.
It wasn't because.
And then he was getting into fights off the court. I know everyone remember, like he was getting like there was a lot of reasons why Jahlil Okafor was out of the league. Post work isn't one of them. Jahlil Okafor was a great post player.
Yes, he was.
Everything else, he couldn't shoot the ball. He wasn't a very good passer. He was a black hole, and his defense was criminal. So someone said in the chat, "Oh, if you have an elite skill, you're gonna stay in the league." No, because if your elite skill is surrounded by a bunch of terrible skills, and your skill isn't really a necessity in today's league, you're probably not going to stay around. There's a reason Duncan Robinson became borderline unplayable for 2 years until he improved. Because even though he had an elite skill, he was so bad everywhere else, he had to get better at the game of basketball to become playable. Jahlil Okafor could post up. He couldn't pass. His rebounding wasn't good in the league. His motor was terrible, and he couldn't guard anyone. And then the game made him have to guard on the perimeter even more, which made him worse. That's not about how bad he was in the post. That's just about everything else in his game being compounded by the fact we don't really need post-up bigs anymore. But Jahlil Okafor could post up. In the 90s, he'd be one of the better post-up players. He's not Hakeem. He's not Shaq. He's not those guys. He's in that next tier. Easy. He's in that next tier. That's what I'm saying. The game had bigs who could post up. The game just went away from bigs who could post up, but they could still post. Al Horford could post up. And now we should.
All right, y'all. We got to move on to the next category. We still got a few more left. The next one is fundamentals. Which era is more fundamentally sound or has better fundamentals? It's on you, Jalen.
The fundamentals, the right pass.
Why are you laughing?
No, I'm thinking that this is the one where I you know what I think fundamentally the 90s I'll give to the 90s. I just think in the 90s what I think players need to go to college, and a lot of players spending a couple years in college definitely helps develop the fundamentals. I think there was less kind of freestyling going on, while today I think players maybe sometimes rely on their athleticism too much or can make the league doing that without learning the fundamentals. So definitely say 90s fundamentally is better than today.
I don't think it's going to college. I think that's from a social aspect. But the league is so young that a lot of these dudes, when they show up, it's almost like being in college. Because look at the Oklahoma City Thunder with Shea and Jalen Williams and Chet. Like, these are a bunch of kids on the crew. But in terms of fundamentals, who's teaching these guys the game? The AAU system is teaching these guys the game. And we've already heard what the AAU system is like. It's a joke. These guys don't know how to open pivot. These guys don't even know what a pivot foot. A lot of them aren't sure what a pivot foot is, how to swing through. Just fundamental stuff, how to shot fake 2 dribbles and which foot to go off of. In terms of defense, to get in a stance, which foot to lead with, which foot to drag with. They don't know stuff like that. And because they don't know stuff like that, when they run up on somebody who is fundamentally sound, they get roasted. So I don't think this is close, to be honest with you.
Damo?
90s clears.
Mars?
Fundamentals is like the core skills, right? That's what fundamentals are. So like basic ball handling, basic passing, rebounding, boxing out. I think fundamentally, back in the 90s, they probably had more of the basic skills down. There's a bunch of players I see today who don't understand simple concepts. So
how is that possible, Mars? How? That's nuts for you to say. Every time I hear that, it sounds nuts for me to say that. Like, basic, you got dudes in the league 3-4 years and don't know basic concepts, like how to close out with the right foot, which foot to close out with, which shot, which hand to use when you're closing out. That's basic. I learned that in 7th grade.
It's on you. What you choosing?
90s.
All right. Yo, fellas in chat, we aren't going to be able to finish this today. we're gonna have to resume this list. We still got more categories and stuff to get into, but I know y'all got super chats, and I gotta read these super chats.
Yes,
We will pick this back up sometime this week. It will. This is not over. This 90s versus current era. We got to really get down to the bottom of it and figure. I figured it would be, a 2-3 day process to figure out if we really done with the 90s. So we gonna see. It's to be continued on whether we're done with the 90s or not. But in terms of super chats, MP13 sent one through. He said, "Chill. Can you define the quote unquote roles of each position? Because that just sounds like you were limiting what someone is allowed to do because of the position they are slotted in. Could that have limited some players from the past?"
No, I don't think it limited them because we understood it. When you're on a team, you have a role. You don't do everything that's the reason why we have teams losing, because this dude does too much and he doesn't relegate some things to other people. So as the small forward, okay, sure. My job is to get out on the break. My job is to handle the basketball. My job is to defend. My job is to finish in transition. Now the game has changed because the small forward is now the point forward. Like, he handles the basketball a little bit more. The two guard was the reason why he was the two guard, because he couldn't dribble as well as the point guard. The reason why the point guard was the point guard, because he couldn't handle it and because he couldn't shoot it like the two guard. So that was the role of him. The 4-man, he was the dirty work guy. But when Malone showed up, now the 4-man, we can run the offense through him. And then Duncan showed up. We can run the offense through him. In addition to him doing the dirty work, the 5-man, he was your rim protector. He was the guy that you ran the offense through also. He was your rim protector. He was your rebounder. He was your paint presence. That was the guy that just your offense was centered around. Well, it's not like that anymore because the game moved away from the basket. You can still run your offense through them. You just run it through them different. But the roles of these guys still are fundamentally the same. The lead guard, your job is to handle the basketball. Your job is to be the table setter, get everybody else involved. You can still be a scoring guard, but you have to get everybody else involved. The 2 guard, shoot the basketball. That's your job. Shoot the basketball, and when you're not open, you can get other people involved also. The small forward, defend. Not just defend, get out on the break. Make things less difficult for these other 2 guards, right? Get out on the break. Be switchable on defense. Rebound the basketball. Defend. Do that sort of stuff. The 4-man today, same thing. It's just advanced, and he's scoring more. He's playing a little bit further away from the basket. And the same logic with the 5-man.
All right, if you guys haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and slap that like button. No better time than now. Shout out to everybody that's been in the chat. As you can see, you could chat now for $1.99. So salute to everybody that has changed their membership and joined that $1.99 tier and is fresh and new in the chat. We appreciate you guys. We respect you guys. And oh yeah, by the way, the chat clears. All right, keeping it pushing. King Vic said, "As a person born in 92, we will never be done with the 90s. Mars.
We're going to die one day. We'll be done with the 90s.
Oh. What? All right. MC Robinson says, "Since March Madness is heating up, I want to know what everyone has thoughts on for the LSU versus South Carolina women's SEC championship." I spoke on them a little bit earlier. Anybody else want to touch on it?
I caught a little bit of it. I mean, I saw the whole fights or that situation too. But I just thought it was a great game too. A lot of tough shot making, good basketball, like you said. Shout out Angel Reese. We're gonna go by. I think a lot of people are kind of say she should have jumped in, whatever. But she made the smart basketball decision. You don't get involved in that. You're a key piece for your team.
She already had a tech, John. She had a tech.
Yeah. She's smart. So I'm saying she's smart, and people are upset, but she made a smart decision. Good for her, because a lot of players in that moment, the first instinct is to run, get involved, but she understands and made to their moment what she means to her team and do what she had to do. So I thought it was a smart decision by her.
And she got a bum ankle too. Don't leave that part out.
Yeah.
And she got a bum ankle.
Shout out to South Carolina though. They really balling right now. I don't got them winning the NCAA championship. I actually got LSU repeating, but shout out to South Carolina because at this moment in time, they are undefeated and
you got LSU winning the championship. I just want to put it on the mind.
That's who I want to win. I want them to go back to that.
And I can appreciate Angel Reese telling everybody that they ain't scared of South Carolina. These are how many times they beat South Carolina.
I was gonna say South Carolina already beat them a couple times, right?
16 straight wins against them.
You know what? I'm tripping.
That's the third time this season.
I got California. I got Pac-12. I got Juju doing the incredible. I got Juju going on a mellow run.
She's a baller. I can't fight her, and I will not argue her. No, I won't.
Y'all just called her a top
She still is a shot chucker, but she's still a baller. You could be a shot chucker and a baller. Yeah, you could be a baller but a shot chucker at the same time.
Y'all do know if it wasn't no no limitations and everybody get into the draft right now, you guys do know Juju's getting drafted ahead of Caitlin Clark, right?
No, she is not.
No, Caitlin's going to be the face. Caitlin's the face of the WNBA for the next decade.
The Indiana Fever have the number 1 pick in the draft. You honestly
is not about to be the face of the WNBA for the next 3. What are you talking about?
Caitlin Clark is going to be the face of the WNBA for the next decade. She is that big time in prime time.
Ron, do you understand when Indiana found out that when they found out that Caitlin Clark was coming out, that she put her name in the draft, season ticket sales went up like 200%, something goofy like that.
I mean, that I'm pretty sure that
and
happened with the Spurs too.
And if Juju was in the draft, they not taking Juju.
Wemby.
Yeah. I mean, like when you get, I'm not denying the fact that Caitlin's a big name, and I'm not denying the fact that she has a big like storyline behind her.
No,
and
she's
that
the best player in the country. Let's stop the nonsense with that.
Chill. This is what I'm saying. Right, quick, Damo. I'm not saying that Caitlin may be better than Juju today, but Juju is younger than Caitlin, and we can all acknowledge the fact that her potential, her growth, and her 10 years from now, she's going to be better than Caitlin Clark.
She could be better than her.
She broke Caitlin Clark's scoring records as a freshman. Right now, she's going to break her scoring records and other records as a sophomore. When she becomes a junior, she's going to
And just so you know,
Caitlin Clark's broke the.
And I just want you to know, she got a 5th year, so she decided not to come back. She could have came back.
Yeah. I'm not saying that she's going to break her all-time scoring record in college, but it's a good chance. If she stays for 4 years, Juju, she's the NCAA's all-time scoring leader.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
She averaged 28 as a freshman.
If you're a Hall of Fame shot chucker and you don't pass, I will hope you will break the all-time
Caitlin Clark's a Hall of Fame shot chucker
too. She also leads Iowa in assists. History. Iowa, she does both. And that's the difference between Juju and Caitlin Clark. Listen, I'm not saying Juju is bad. Juju is primetime TV. She's a hooper. But unless she knows how to come off the peel, I ain't going to hold you.
Get off the field, Juju.
There's an element to Caitlin Clark that I will always take above Juju. They're both Hall of Fame shot chucker. One has Hall of Fame diamond.
She takes 22 shots and 8 free throws for 27 points.
Yep. That's what we're doing.
It's like, that's
and that's just this night. Hey, Mars. She had this one week. I swear, every time I turned on Twitter, 10 for 30, 15 for 30.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm not gonna lie.
Stop throwing.
You give someone 22 shots and 8 free throws. I'm
talking 10 for 30 with 1 assist. I'm like, I ain't seen this type of stuff.
She averages 3 assists and 4 turnovers.
That's crazy.
Juju clears.
Ron, he gave Ron, and just so you know, Big Damo did you a disservice because he said that Caitlin Clark is the all-time assist leader in Iowa history. Just so you know, Ron, she lead the Big Ten. She lead the conference in assists too. So she ain't just the best scorer in the league. She's the best assist man in the league too. So she gets off the peel.
What I'm saying is it's not Juju or Caitlin. It's Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink is the best player.
Cameron Brink is not better than. So I'll tell you what. Nope, I'm not doing that. Nope, I'm not.
Right, I'm saying like
I'm not.
Constant. I said going back over the past 5 seasons, who do y'all think would be the champ if the conference finals losers were to advance? For example, last year instead of Denver versus Miami, it's the Celtics versus the Lakers.
Conference finals losers the past.
Celtics win, then 22 it would be Dallas versus Miami.
Give me Luka.
Sure. Then 21 would be Clippers versus Hawks. Give me the Clippers. 20 would be Nuggets versus Celtics in 2020. Give me the Nuggets. And 20.
You think they're there yet, Mars? You think they're there yet?
Yeah.
You think Joker's there yet?
To your brother.
Well, I just think they're better than the Celtics.
Okay.
And then 19 would be Milwaukee versus Portland. Milwaukee winning 2 games. Yeah. That's the last 5 years.
All right, y'all. Skis Sama Said done with the 90s means we are not accepting lies about the era based on the nostalgia and limited views. So many people didn't watch those games, but parrot what they've heard.
Bingo.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Bingo.
Exactly. I've heard so many lies about the 80s and 90s.
Damn.
That like I know isn't true because I've watched the games. But the amount of people I know who are like my age or slightly older who are repeating these lies, I'm like, yeah, you guys ain't watched the games. And then the old heads are still pushing these agendas. That's why I'm everyone knows I don't air attack. So I still rank these guys where I think they should be. But hey, I'm having fun with it. The 90s is trash because the amount of lies I've had to hear these old heads and the young people who just listen to the old heads spew,
which is terrible, right?
Because
it makes it look bad for people like me because I'm a representative of this, right?
Yeah, they be using you as like you're like the figurehead on Twitter right now of like the old heads. Yeah, like you're going everywhere. Yeah, like you're everywhere of like the old heads.
Every comment under we done with the 90s videos, Chilltown's having a heart attack. What's Chilltown going to think?
I'm the representative, like I'm spreading bad information. No, I was there. I'm giving facts and I'm telling you, yo, go watch this. There's plenty of information out there for you to, because again, if anybody knows me, I think James is the GOAT. Anybody knows me knows I think James is the GOAT. So I'm not sitting around and going, yo, this guy is, but I don't want you to talk bad about these dudes just off the strength of somebody coming around and giving 2 or 3 clips of the 90s is garbage. Wait a minute, go do your homework on this first. And then you can come up with an idea of how they are.
Yeah, I'm just saying it because the amount of lies I've heard, especially about the modern NBA from the old heads.
All right, y'all. I got a super chat. From Renji. He said, not gonna lie, this whole trend is horrible for the sport. All we doing is promoting a product we apparently think is shit. Old heads and young heads are one and the same.
No, the 90s
they've been doing that. They've been doing that since I was young. That's what all old heads been doing. Was complaining about the product, complaining about the game. So now when people go back and not only just say it, because I come from an era where we used to talk shit about the 90s all the time. We're putting facts behind it now. Now we're giving you film, we're giving you numbers and all that behind why people are saying the 90s is ass. And now it's, oh man, this is so disrespectful.
It is. It's despicable. You young niggas don't got
the product.
No,
you old niggas don't got no decorum.
Respect.
You old niggas don't got no decorum.
The old heads can ditch it out, but they can't take it when it's about that era.
That's facts.
You know what I can't take? You know what I can't stand?
You're ungrateful.
You old heads will build platforms like these. Y'all will go on networks, stations, and broadcasts. Y'all will get all over these cameras. Y'all will get all on these microphones, and y'all will demean and diminish the current product of basketball. Y'all will sit there and complain about it all goddamn day, but swear you can't just not watch it because I love the game. You look at football, they don't do that crap. They sit, if they have their differences, they can have their differences, but be respectful about it. They will still hype up the game.
The reason why, Damo, is because if you look at football,
but when you
wait a minute, though, Damo.
All these old farts don't know how to give people respect.
No,
they sit up there on TNT, and they sit there crack jokes. They ruin people's careers, shocked in a fool. They do all this dumb stuff that they don't do in any other sport, and it's whack. So now, when it gets to this point, oh, now it's too much. Now we wilding. Now we disrespectful. No, going on national television and disrespecting the product to the consumer is super disrespectful. That's crazy.
I won't argue that. But when you're talking about football, Damo, I mean, how much has the game of football advanced in terms of like LaDainian Tomlinson and the running back? Right? The running back, if there's people who will say Barry Sanders would be awesome today. Emmitt Smith would be awesome today.
Barry Sanders would be a GOAT. Barry Sanders still a GOAT.
That's what I'm talking about. So when you talk about the skill level, right? How less physical is football today? So you can't really tackle guys like you used to. Guys like Lawrence Taylor, he might have a difficult time in today's era. Not because of his skill set.
Lawrence Taylor would be the best defensive player.
No.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor would be the best defensive player.
This is what I'm saying, Jalen. Not because of his skill set, but because how less physical the game is. He can't. Lawrence Taylor was one of the most physical defensive players in the game. He could drop in coverage. Not only could he drop in coverage, he could cover linebackers. He could do all of that. When I talk about the skill set in basketball, we're talking about how the game changed, how now we play further away from the basket, how guys play on the long ball line a little bit more. And you got to be more skilled to do that. How much more skilled do you have to be as a running back to hit the A gap?
Fellas,
Chill.
I gotta keep it pushing. I got a few more super chats I gotta read. Keep in mind, this is to be continued. We not
Brian,
there.
you gonna cut it off? You gonna keep letting these young punks disrespect the 90s? I'm tired of this shit, Brian. Now I'm gonna talk about what football players don't do. I don't hear Patrick Mahomes out here talking bad about Joe Montana. That's the problem. It's only us. We just defending our generation.
Who was the young
We can't do this right now. We can't. I gotta get through these. Drip Bayless said, in y'all opinion, does 10 scoring titles in 0 game 7s in 6 finals speak more to the lack of comp and schemes allowed, or is it more likely one person is so much greater than every other player ever?
Well, the scoring titles is he's just taking more shots than everyone.
Shots.
I mean, it's definitely a combination of both. The whole no game 7 thing, who cares? He won the 6. The whole not getting to a game 7 is irrelevant. That's a team accomplishment within the series. That whole thing I always thought was a little overblown. 10 scoring titles is impressive. I don't care what area you do it in. It's impressive no matter what. Being able to lead the league in scoring for that many years, super impressive. Jordan was clearly the best player at that time. He was the best athlete on the floor without a doubt. That gap wasn't even close. Like him athletically was just so above the rest. Especially when you go back and really watch it, like, damn, he really was that much better. Do I think he'd be that much better in today's game? No, but it's super impressive. Can't take it.
There's 3 players that are just phenomenally great all-time players that are before their time: Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Michael Jordan.
That's a good point.
Respect.
Tito El Bandito with the last super chat of the day said, Damo, would you rather take a team with KCP, Draymond, and Bosh over LeBron, Curry, and Jokic?
Oh my God, you niggas killed me with this. Would I take a team with players I would deem most important to a team versus the players I would deem the best on a team? I would take the team of best players, you goof.
Wait, how can you be the best but not the most important?
There are situations where you are the best and most important, but there are teams that I feel in history that have won that had a best player who you can't win without that best player, but they also do have a most important player. If you're a team who has a defensive identity, 2011 Dallas Mavericks, for example. Tyson Chandler, I feel, is the most important player on that team because of their identity and what he brings to that defense and what led to them helping them win. Dirk is obviously the best player. That the ship doesn't sail without Dirk. The ship also doesn't sail without Tyson Chandler, in my opinion.
Moss, how many times have we had this conversation about Jordan, and how many times we had this conversation about how good he is, but how important Scottie Pippen was? Even though you're better,
he was very important.
Even though you're better,
important.
just because you're better at basketball. I can get with that logic because you're better at. It's like LeBron James was better at basketball, but Anthony Davis, what he brought to the crew, how important he was to that crew.
But you can be very important, but not more important. It's like when people say Draymond's more important to Golden State than Steph.
It's and Mars. What I would say to you is, at the end of the day, we can just agree to disagree because it comes down to a debate on semantics and what words mean.
Pretty much.
Most important versus very important, and it comes down to that. And at that point, it's like, all right, we understand what we're saying. It's just how you want to phrase it.
Tomato.
Fellas, we got to get up out of here. Y'all be sure to like the video on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Become a member in the press box. It's not next. It's actually now.
We ain't.
Hey, I'm coming for you 3 down here. You 3 down there?
We really gonna talk.